Welcome back to another episode of Good Teams Win Great Teams Cover. Thanks for joining us for our Week 12 review. We've hit the crucial point of Thanksgiving and beyond now, and we're heading down the final stretch of the 2023 regular season. I'm joined as always by Byron and Joe to review all the action. We're going to take a look at 3 games in depth, review our FourFold challenge, our ATS Picks competition, have a review about how our bets did, share the winning Fantasy Gameday lineup and pick that apart. We'll give you our winners and losers and preview Thursday night football as our Dallas Cowboys are playing the Seattle Seahawks. So a lot to get through. Byron and Joe, how are you both doing, gentlemen? Welcome to the Week 12 review.
Yeah, grand, yeah. Coming out the other side of COVID, coming out the other side of Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the season starts now, as they say, so...
Yeah, awesome. How was your poorly Thanksgiving?
Not great, I must be honest. My in-laws dropped us dinner around, though, on Thursday, Thanksgiving, which was really good. I got my sense of taste back. I only lost it for a few days, so... I did it back in time for my Thanksgiving dinner. It was delicious, so shout out the in-laws for that.
Shout out in-laws.
Back at work Monday and, just working from home. But yeah, it's kind of been nice to get back to reality a bit and not just moping in bed. But yeah, feeling the best I've felt since I got... it's nearly been 2 weeks now. But yeah, feeling the best I've felt since I got it. So
cool. Glad you got your Thanksgiving dinner as well. I knocked one up. It was incredible.
It looked good.
Yeah, it was very good. I enjoyed that while I was watching. Probably while I was watching Lions Packers. I can't really remember. It was just a haze of food and some beer. It was great. Joe, welcome to Week 12 review. How are you doing? You've got Russ in you've got Danger Russ in your background there. Nice. We'll get on to the Broncos later.
Yeah, doing well. It feels like he's got a lot of stick so far, and they're doing well. So I should give him a shout out because who knows if he'll get a chance the rest of the year. But how they're going, it's but all good. It's a fun week, so looking forward to talk about it.
I didn't think Dolly Parton would be a thumbnail for one of our episodes before Russell Wilson. Didn't see that. I didn't have that on the bingo card for this season.
Well, she earned it.
Never can catch Dolly out.
She was absolutely incredible. If anything, that halftime show didn't go on long enough. Didn't have the Queen medley down on my bingo card for the Dolly Parton halftime show either. But
I think they have to stop for Romo because he was about to explode by the end of it. So,
he seemed to enjoy it a little bit too much, didn't he, Tony Romo? We'll review Dolly Parton's halftime show when we get to Cowboys Commanders as well. We'll see where it ranks. But let's get into the games. We're going to look at 3 games in depth, so only a few this week. And we are going to start on Thanksgiving, and we're going to start with the Green Bay Packers upsetting the Detroit Lions in that early game. Packers going into Detroit and looking pretty comfortable, winning 29-22 on the back of a very, very impressive defensive performance and a huge performance from Jordan Love, who seems to be getting better each and every week.
Yeah, his best game of his career. Comfortably, I'm pretty sure you could say that. Their young weapons seem to be getting generally better by the weeks as well. I feel like I've been hyping up Jaden Reed most of the season, but since he came in, he's stood out, I think. With Naren Jones, he's taken on a bit more the kind of Swiss Army knife role of getting rushing attempts, getting receiving work. I think this was just really impressive by Green Bay, and especially you look at that injury report. I think they had 17 players on the injured report on Wednesday, and then come Thursday, I know missing players who didn't make it through that injury report. And obviously, the kind of easy takeaways that Detroit came and kind of shit the bed on Thanksgiving, and it was Detroit being Detroit, and it's classic letdown game. And I don't really think any of us seen it coming, really, especially with all those Green Bay injuries. And just a real bummer, I think, for Detroit, especially Jared Goff, who couldn't stay out of his own way. Just anything that could go wrong felt like it went wrong for him. Eventually, I guess the fantasy points came back a little bit as started chasing the game more, but never looked like they were going to win the game, certainly.
How concerning is that? So Goff and the Lions, that's back-to-back weeks now. So they got away with it against the Bears, but they were a big favourite against the Bears. Didn't cover. And then, again, I touched that, 7-point favourite. Was it an 8-point favourite against Green Bay, or was it 7?
I think it ended up being over a touchdown. So yeah, I think it's 7.5 or 8. It ended
7.5 maybe. Yeah. So again, another touchdown. Another big favorite at home against the Packers.
Yeah.
And first half offensively, they were a mess both times. How worrying is that for the Lions as you're looking at, they are going to be in the playoffs, they are going to win that division. How worrying is that heading into these bigger games?
I think this has kind of been the concern we've touched on a few times of like they've never been there before. And, how many Thanksgivings have we seen where the Lions are coming as big favorites in their division? And, I've talked about it repeatedly every week. I feel like once they got through the Ravens game, I think it'll have been maybe the Chargers game to a lesser degree. It was like, it's a cupcake schedule the rest of the season. I put money down on Jared Goff to get MVP because it's such a narrative award. And there still isn't a big favorite for that award, I don't think. Jared Goff, Jalen Hurts seems to be there by default based on record. But I think if the Lions had went in and won out the last 8 games or last 7 games, I think you could see an argument for him. And you don't like to say it feels too big for the Lions, but there is an element of it showing that they haven't been there before. And, I thought they would come in and just run all over Green Bay. We went for our Fantasy Gameday picks. Me and Joe both went running back, Gibbs and Montgomery. I don't remember who picked who, but the thing was that all line was just going to bully people, and Green Bay especially. And that'd be what drives them to victory. And obviously getting behind early takes you off schedule a little there, but the O-line hasn't been as good the last few weeks. Goff certainly hasn't. And they need to get back to it. They need to get back to winning football. Bully ball as it might be, but it's definitely concerning come what's going to happen come the season end, because they're not going to have any soft matchups once the season gets to that stage.
I think in both the games, what we've seen is they've almost completely abandoned the run when they got, and there was so much time, especially in this game. They got down big and got down big early, but there was still so much time. I think it was 26 at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah,
only 2 scores down. There was absolutely loads of time in that game, and they just panicked and tried to air out. Now, what do you need? If your line isn't holding up particularly well, in your pass offense, well, let them move forward in the run game. Let them, throw people around. That's what they're really good at. And they just completely abandoned the run for the Lions compared to how especially balanced we're used to seeing them being. And I thought they did it against the Bears the week before, but it was even more prevalent here. And I thought they had the wake-up call, getting away with that game against the Bears. And then they just sweat-walked the first half again. And never really got going in the second half, to be honest, either. I think Packers as well, let's shout them out, actually, because the Packers did play well. I think particularly we've shouted out Jordan Love there and the offense to start with. But I think probably the player of the game for me was Rashawn Gary. He had the 3 sacks. He was a menace. He was in the backfield constantly. He was harassing Goff. Just had an absolute beast of a game. Forced the fumbles as well. Just had an absolute monster game that didn't let Goff and the Lions settle. But we're now talking about the Packers at 5 and 6. We talked about somebody's going to get that 7th seed in the NFC. Well, I think you can say that it's those 6th and 7th seed are up for grabs now with what's going on with Seattle. And the Packers are right back in the race. Joe, what do you think? Can the Packers carry on? They've picked a couple of wins in a row. Can the Packers push on and get one of those playoff places? Or is it an overreaction to this win?
I think it's like a strange one because, they have been playing better and John Love's been definitely playing better the last few weeks. But watching them, I would think, oh, no, they're probably not to the playoffs. But then when you look at all the teams around them, who's actually they're currently 8th, and you look, Vikings not doing well, Seahawks not doing well. That's good, And you got the Rams, Saints, Buccaneers. You're like, 2 of them teams are going to get a playoff spot. So it's like, yeah, they can definitely get a playoff spot. Don't think they're going to do anything within the playoffs. I think it's just a poor NFC, basically, probably the 1 to 5 best teams, and everything underneath that is just not great. So I think a team like the Packers could sneak in. Obviously, depends on their schedule, but looking around the teams around them, there's no reason why not.
Paul frozen there.
I think he's frozen now. He was just that astonished by my take then. But I'll comment about the Lions. One thing I am curious about is Jared Goff. Is it one of them things where when he's in the lights, is he going to be like a Kirk Cousins? Like I know he had some big games for the Rams, it never felt there's only 1-2 games. It was like, oh, Goff's actually won this game.
Yeah,
it's like similar where I think back at the Super Bowl, they had that absolutely atrocious game against Patriots, and now again it's on like, oh, the Detroit's doing well. Here's your chance to shine. Here's the chance to put the Lions in a comfortable position, and it flopped a bit.
Yeah, I think kind of definitely, truthfully. I tweeted it out a little tongue-in-cheek on Thursday. There's like, where's Hendon Hooker at in his recovery? And because I'm always here for quarterback drama, especially if it doesn't involve Dak Prescott, because we get enough of that without as much reason as a lot of quarterbacks these Dallases. But like, I'm always here for a quarterback battle and some drama, especially late in the season. And for the vast majority of Goff's NFL career, it's always been like, how low is the ceiling? And yeah, I think you're absolutely bang on about his time with LA and St. Louis. Like, everyone knew it was a Sean McVay offense that led them to the Super Bowl, and Jared Goff couldn't get it done. Like, Super Bowl throw to Brandon Cooks, I believe that probably would have won them the Super Bowl, and DB got back and broke it up because the throw was just, it wasn't there. It should have been. And he's always kind of been left wanting in the big spots. This season's felt like an anomaly, and it was finally kind of his year and everything was going right. And again, with Jared Goff, it is until it isn't. So I'd be stunned if they go to Hendon Hooker this year. Like, that's just me being a bit facetious and a bit, cheeky about it, I guess. I'd love to see it, just to see. Again, I love carnage, but I don't think that will happen. I just think, I dare say the Lions are probably going to be pleased they didn't sign Goff to a mid-season extension.
Yeah,
I don't know when it's.
I would say with the Lions, yeah. I would say with the Lions, I think Goff is a worry. I think the biggest worry is that defense. I think they did have a lot of injuries to start the year, and it felt like they managed to, keep at a good level. But I think I'm sure it's like the last 4 or 5 weeks they're ranked, like 30th, 31st, like 32nd, like around that range of how, like, especially their passing defense, and just watching against Green Bay, where first play of the game straight down the field. You know what I mean? And it felt like the Bears could do that. And if the Bears and Packers can do that, they're not the most explosive teams like we've just seen yesterday. It is a worry when you are going to play a team who is going to, be able to have a good defense and able to keep points down like Goff when your defense is that leaky. So I think that's the biggest worry. And the last 2 weeks have probably, my expectations of the Lions have dropped a bit, where now they're in a tier below the top 3 teams. I think this year that they've always been like, oh, they were just below, and then it was like, oh no, they actually are in the tier above with Eagles, 49ers, Cowboys. Now it just feels like, oh, you know what, they're actually underneath that, especially when you've got such a weakness like that defense. It's going to get exploited against them 3 teams, and it was such a big chance for them. They could have got, I know the Eagles won, but if they had won, that would put a bit more pressure on. It's like, you know what, they've got a chance to get the number 1 seed. Now it's like, are they going to get, it's a battle between them 49ers probably for the 2nd seed. And I know they've got like a cupcake rest of the schedule, but if the losing
last 2 games like Green Bay,
well, exactly. So they've got the Bears to play again, and I know they've got Cowboys as well. So and they've got Saints who turns up, Broncos, Vikings, Vikings twice actually. So it's not set that they're going to get the
they're not going to win all.
No, so I kind of
like to see it.
Yeah, and especially like how the schedule for the other 2 teams are for the 49ers, Eagles. You're like, this is a big chance, but hey ho. But with the Packers, I've just checked their schedule, and it's not too bad. They've got the Chiefs next week, a Sunday Night Football, but then they've got the Giants, Bucks, Panthers, Vikings, Bears. So you can see 3 wins there.
Yeah,
that'll take them to 8 wins, and that could be enough to get into this playoff spot. So
yeah, like you're saying, those last 2 seeds in the NFC, 6 and 7, it's not going to be 2 great teams in there. Seahawks might recover and win a few more games. You know, if you get to 9, you're probably making it at this point, it feels like. Again, depending on all the schedules. But with the way the Vikings have kind of capitulated last night, I think the Packers should feel good about the chances, certainly. And, you know, it's not his rookie season, but it's Jordan Love's first year as a starter. It's a very young rookie offense. If they make the playoffs, I think you have to put it as a huge success for their first year without Rodgers.
Sorry, I'm back from my internet outage. Yeah, hi. Yeah, so you're still talking Packers Lions, yeah?
Just finishing up, yeah.
Got it, yeah. Cool. And just, yeah, your point. I'm back for an NFC team's going to get into the playoffs with an 8-9 record. I thought it was going to be the Vikings.
It was no it now. It was you were just waiting to come back in on that.
Yeah.
No, at the start of the season in my run, the Vikings will get in the playoffs 8-9. But I think you know what? I'm going to go out and say it might be 2.
I was just about to say that it could be 2 teams at this rate.
I fancy it. I think the Packers. What are the Packers 5-6? I think the Packers can win 4 of those games. Have you talked about who they've got left?
Yeah.
I think they can win 4 of those games. Yeah. So I think the Packers can get to 9 wins. They might even get to 10. Maybe they could lose to the Chiefs and then win out.
Yeah, I'm nervous about getting too confident about these grandish proclamations of winning out with these teams who were so hot and cold.
I'll just stick with my 8-9. Someone in the NFC is going to get in the playoffs for 8-9.
I mean, to be fair, one of them as well could be the NFC South winner still.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a wild card team. I mean,
yeah, we could end up with 3 losing record teams in the NFC, which would be incredible.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll get 3. I think that's really pushing it. But
yeah, I think some of these teams will win.
2 would be funny enough.
Win some games down the stretch. But yeah, the NFC's bad. Again, we called this out at the start of the season.
But what's slightly better than the NFC South is the AFC South, right?
Just about, and that's a great segue to what was a very entertaining game. The Jaguars, no, I said Jaguars like that. The Jaguars, the Texans 24-21 in Houston. Jacksonville now 8-3, the Texans 6-5. I think that's not the final step. Obviously, there's more work to do, but that's the step that separates the Jaguars, and I think they should comfortably go on and win that division now.
Yeah, and I think the biggie there is as well, it evens out that tie break that the Texans could have went 2-0 versus the Jags on the season, which would be, it's a huge tiebreaker come the end of the season. So getting to 1-1 there, having the advantage in the record is massive for Jacksonville, yeah. With how Texans have looked the last few weeks. Excuse me.
Are you all right?
Don't need the hiccups at this moment.
It's all going wrong. I've had my internet drop out. Byron's choking. Joe, I suppose what was the difference? 24-21. The clock. I don't know. I watched it. It didn't really feel like it was that close of a game.
Well, I was going to say half a yard probably separated them, didn't it, with the crossbar at the end. Yeah, it did feel that close, but each team had chances to score more. It was both teams definitely had opportunities to put points on the board, which they couldn't. I think the refs had a bit of a stinker this game. A few decisions were, I think it was for both teams, but there's a few atrocious decisions. But yeah, about the Jags before the game, just because I thought they would sneak it out, and they still feel like they're the team to win this division, and it normally equals. I think these two teams are not too far apart, and I think if we'd said that at the start of the year, it would have been a bit of a shock that the Texans would have been so close. So I still think, I think Jags is probably will win the division just with how some of the luck with what's happening to Joe Burrow and the Browns as well. So it's made their schedule a little bit easier. So, and with 2 games hand, but I still think the Texans. Well, I hope the Texans make the playoffs because I think they're one of the most fun teams to watch. I think even though CJ Stroud, had an interception, had a few errors, it was still like just watching him is just how poised he is, how just with his eyes down the field and just dodging tackles. I thought it's still incredible for a rookie quarterback. If your team got that quarterback, you'll be like, we're sorted for the next 15 years because he looks like the real deal, and you want them kind of quarterbacks in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think he had another great game, and even in the losing effort, added to his resume of a fantastic rookie season that he's having. I think from a Jaguars perspective, I think that's back-to-back weeks we've seen that offense is moving again, isn't it? Yeah. It's taken so long to get going, but This is if you're going to get going, why not? Why not now? This time of year, these big games, and get rolling towards the end of the season. Can the Jaguars make some noise? And I would expect them to win a playoff game because they would get the Rams. To what they're going to be potentially a 2 or a 3 seed, maybe.
They're 3 right now, so yeah, it'll be. It sounds crazy. If Baltimore have any more injuries, if the Chiefs don't pick it up, and they are all kind of tied at 3 losses, I believe, and the Dolphins as well, it's not crazy for the Jags to get the number 1 seed. I don't think it'll happen, but there's more chance of them getting the number 1 seed than not winning the division, I think, at this point. And if they get a home field, it's not exactly, Philadelphia or, Seattle or Kansas City. It's not the home field advantage, but bye week and playing in your own stadium is always a good thing. I think, I'd have them as search to win a division playoff game because, the wildcard teams are going to be Steelers, Browns, Texans again.
Colts, it could be, yeah.
Colts, Broncos, Bills, mate.
Bills, yeah.
Oh, we forgot about Buffalo as well, yeah.
Yeah, all teams that can turn up, certainly, but the vast majority of them, I think the Jags would be favoured at home, certainly. Who, if they win the division, they're going to have a home game.
Interesting point around, of the home field advantage. Jaguars are 3-3 at home on the season, 5-0 on the road.
Wow. Maybe they will be getting the 3 seed, yeah. Yeah, get the number 1 seed. We'll take the bye week. We'll go on the road, though, don't we?
We'll float on the road. But Lawrence is looking like the Lawrence we saw down the stretch last season. The offense is going. This is probably the first game we saw Ridley and Kirk go together.
Yeah.
Which we haven't seen. It's been one or the other so far this season. Sometimes neither. But sometimes it's been one or the other. Just I saw a real solid performance from the Jaguars offense. Yes, we talked about Matt Amendola's heartbreaking field goal, 58 yards, smacking the crossbar. Talking a few more inches, and it made the difference. And I think they left him in a bit of that could have been a much shorter field goal. And I don't know, I think it was they just needed to get 3 or 4 yards on that final play, the 3rd and 12 play. And I didn't really feel like they set CJ Stroud up particularly well for that one. It's just, you need, I think, 3rd and 12. I don't think the Jaguars, I think there's still a bit of it's enough of a distance to worry about having to cover the marker and cover the 12, cover the 12 yards, the first down marker. And then maybe you can surely find a way to get a 3 or 4 yard completion there. And then all of a sudden, you're talking about 53, 54 yard kick, and the odds of making that sort of go up quite a lot, quite quickly. So, and I think this has been a great one. We got overtime in this week, which we'll talk about shortly, but I think this has been a great game to go into overtime.
Yeah, definitely. And just it's kind of become a bit of a thing on fantasy football coverage and fantasy Twitter recently. Calvin Ridley splits with Zay Jones in the lineup compared to not in the lineup. Insane. So they played 11 games this season. When Zay Jones is out of the lineup, Calvin Ridley averages 7.53 points a game. When Calvin Ridley and Zay Jones play together, Calvin Ridley averages 20.5 points a game. And it just makes no sense. It's not like he gets more targets because Zay Jones is playing. But Zay Jones seems to be the skeleton key to unlocking Calvin Ridley. He gets 90 yards a game compared to 36 when he's not there. And gets 0.8 touchdowns a game compared to 0.1 when Zay Jones is out of the lineup. So keeping Zay Jones fit seems to be the key to Calvin Ridley and the Jags offense going.
There you go.
Don't know why.
Do you think Doug Peterson knows that?
I'm sure he's been made aware of it, yeah.
Cool, good stuff. The Jaguars, again, you should go and win that division now. And like I say, they've got what would look like three very, very daunting games in a row. Bengals, Browns, Ravens, all of a sudden become two games they really should win. And then a game that could, have a huge influence on who gets the number 1 seed.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then after that, Jaguars, you've got Buccaneers, Panthers, Titans, games they should win. Can they go win 5? Can they go win 5 of those 6 games and end up what 30? If they win all 6, I think if they win all 6, they will be the number 1 seed.
14 and I mean, at that point, you go, well, hang on, what's Trevor Lawrence for MVP this week? But
no, it's not.
I'm backing too many outsiders for MVP, and it's probably going to end up being Jalen Hurts.
Don't think he's played well enough. But yeah, that Ravens game could be huge, and even at 13-4, that's from. I don't think they played very well at times, and yeah, they could be sat there with 13 wins, which would be interesting, and end up winning that division by 4 or 5 games. After we talked about them, this might go down to the wire, and this be the turning point. Texans, how confident are we Texans are going to do enough to make the playoffs?
I feel pretty good about them, I must say. I don't have the schedule up, but I don't want to be like. I don't think it really matters too much. Cause I know they haven't got a daunting schedule the rest of the way, just based on where they finished last season. They haven't got a number 1 schedule. They're in the AFC South. I think they can rattle off a few wins against anybody, really. It's just going to be a week by week how many they get, but
it's not daunting, but it's against. You've got 4 of the 6 remaining games against teams that are in that race for the AFC wildcard.
Yeah.
So they've got Denver at home, away to the. Let me discount the Jets out of that. Apologies to 3 of those teams. So they've got Denver and Houston, away to the Jets, at home to the Browns, away to the Colts, and they've got 2 games against the Titans in there.
Yeah, I think I'd have them favoured for the majority of those, though. I'd have them favoured at home against the Broncos. Obviously, against the Jets, I'd favoured. Both games against the Titans will have those favourites. And I've kind of lost track of who else you said, but I mean, that's 4 games there. Yeah, so they just feel like they're on such an upwards trajectory that I feel comfortable putting them in the playoffs now. And the Browns, with PJ Walker or DTR, is not the Browns of old.
No, absolutely not. Cool. Well, they roll on. It'd be interesting to see how that goes. And if Jacksonville's number 1 seed, that'd be interesting to see.
Surprising.
Yeah, the path to Vegas through Duval County. Let's move on to the game of the week. Undoubtedly the game of the week. Definitely one of the games of the season. Probably the game of the season so far. Yeah, no.
Monday Night Football.
Sorry?
Monday Night Football?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot about Monday Night Football. Yeah, silly me. Buffalo Bills fell to the Philadelphia Eagles in overtime, 37-34 to the Eagles. Eagles now 10-1, Buffalo 6-6. I think I'm just going to repeat what I said the other week when the Eagles beat the Chiefs. How the hell did the Buffalo Bills not win this game?
Because the Eagles are Eagles,
Yeah.
The championship winning team who've got that special ingredient where they can just sneak out these wins. And I think I hate when I see talking heads like, oh, they're so lucky and all this kind of stuff. But they've been winning all these games. There's a reason why they're winning all these games. It's because it's who they are and the players they've got. Luck only takes you so far. You make your own luck. And they're the kind of team who just keep sneaking these wins, And Bills had the chance as well. It's not like the Eagles didn't give them a chance. So it's more the other teams not taking that opportunity rather than the Eagles just stumbling into it. It's and when you've got, Jalen Hurts, he's got many rushing touchdowns as McCaffrey now. I know most of them play tush pushers. But, you've got a dual threat quarterback. And again, it seemed like he made a lot of mistakes, but they still somehow score plus 30 points. And the defense didn't look great, but they still managed to hold to that field goal at the end. It's it's the Philly way, really. And I'm curious what you thought of the Bills not going for it with 20 seconds to go. In terms of the Chiefs managed to do it to them in that playoffs when they played their best opportunity to get to the Super Bowl that year, and they just decided not to. I know they got the coin toss afterwards, but still it felt they could have gone for that.
The fact they had the one time out, I thought they would have tried something on the first play. And then you see how, if they managed to get 15 yards on that first play with the timeout, and I think you have to put something relatively safe in because there's a huge risk of if Josh Allen holds that ball for too long, the pass rush gets to him, you then potentially turnover situation. But I'd have put someone that maybe try and get someone out in space or towards the sideline and beat someone, and maybe you get 12, 15 yards, and then you're asking Josh Allen to make one play.
Well, it's not like he's Zach Wilson. He's got someone with a noodle arm as well, you know.
Yeah.
And you're more polite than me, Paul, on it, truthfully. I think it's absolutely pathetic. And I think he might not be on the hottest of hot seats right now, Sean McDermott, but I honestly think it's pathetic. Like, go down swinging. You've got Josh Allen, who threw for the best part 400 yards, who, like Joe says, has got a cannon. Take a fucking risk. Like, you know, when they lost in that 13 seconds game, and, you know, Josh Allen at the ESPYs was like, made this joke, he's just like, every team should get a possession in overtime. It's like, yep, they should. And you won the coin toss here, and you could have went down and got a touchdown if Gabe Davis and Josh Allen had connected properly on that throw into the end zone right at the end before they settled for the field goal. Sure, they could have still won it anyway, but I just think it's pathetic. I'd be fuming if I was a Bills fan. Like, just throw it downfield, and if nothing happens, and if you lose going down swinging, and the Eagles intercept it and kick another miraculous Jake Elliott field goal to steal the game, okay, like, it happens. Maybe it wouldn't have been smart football, but you have Josh Allen. The Eagles defense hasn't been stopping him most of the game, and it's 20 seconds, like, it's 2 plays to try and win the game, not just hope for a coin toss and then hope we get the rub of overtime. Because, I mean, you got the ball in overtime and you still didn't win. Like, it's not like it's a guarantee you get the ball and you're going to win. Just try something. I can't say enough how soft stomach and weak-willed I found it. I just find it... What do you have Josh Allen for if it's not to try and win games?
Yeah. We've referenced that, obviously, ultimately the reason why the overtime rules changed were because of what happened to the Buffalo Bills. Mm-hmm. The Bills have gone, since then, played 5 overtime games. How many of those games do you think they've won?
I believe it's 0, right?
Yeah, they're 0-5, yeah. Which is wild. And yeah, they had it in over, everything else in the game, but they had it in overtime. Gabe Davis was running free into the end zone. Yeah. Just ran the wrong way at the top of his route.
It happens.
And those are the margins. And I think we're getting to the point with Philadelphia where they're winning these games, but the margins they are winning them by are getting ever, ever finer. And they play the Niners this week. We'll talk about that in the preview. And could that be the week where the margins, they don't get by those margins because the Niners are really, really good. But just want to talk about the Bills before we talk about the Eagles. Josh Allen was absolutely incredible in this game. Yep. Back to what we are used to seeing from Josh Allen. He put this team on his back and he was phenomenal. And I felt bad for him that he didn't come out on the winning team in this game because I think he thoroughly deserved to. He was absolutely incredible. Defense played really, really well for 2.5 quarters. Yeah. They let and that's the thing with this Eagles team, that the Chiefs had him in the same position last week. You cannot let them have that one drive that gets them going, because once they do, you do not stop them. And probably the key play, and there's several key plays we talked about, but the missed field goals, we had the blocked Jalen Carter field goal, which was incredible, but the Bills got the ball back almost instantly from that one. The missed field goal in the third quarter, which I know it was horrible. There were horrible conditions in Philadelphia, but I think it was a 48-yard field goal from Talbas. If you're going to go into Philadelphia and beat the Eagles, those are the ones you have to have. And Jake Elliott stepped up, like I've talked about. Miraculous. I don't know if that's a big enough word to describe it. It was one of the great kicks I've seen. 59 yards. The wind was howling, the rain was pouring, and he absolutely nailed it. I was sat there praying, thinking, 59-yard field goal in this, they're going to miss. And there's probably a couple of things. And Joe, you mentioned the refs in the other game, the Texans Jags. I don't think they had covered themselves in glory here. What does Darius Slay have to do to get called for holding or defensive pass interference, because he just hangs off people and they just don't call it? Why is AJ Brown's catch and fumble not a fumble, but Keenan Allen's was in the Chargers Ravens game? Because they're both exactly the same.
Yeah, one was played in Philadelphia, I would dare guess.
Yeah. So, yeah, but they're just real close things that are going this way, and that's why this game's titled, it's always lucky in Philadelphia. I just think I just don't think you're going to carry on winning games like this.
But what's annoying is like these last 2 weeks as well could have made the NFC East and the NFC in general so much more interesting. And I think it still could be like if we really need the 49ers to be the Eagles next week, because I think if the Eagles win that, then that's the number one seed sorted, and that's probably the NFC sorted. But the 49ers win there, and then and if Cowboys win on Thursday, then that showdown they'll be on the same record. And then it's all to play for with it, and they would split across the game. So fingers crossed for the 49ers next week.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will be pulling for 49ers and then pulling, as long as Dallas take care of business on Thursday Night Football, pulling for Dallas, which is not a thing to say. To weeks, it'll just make it a bit more interesting. Interesting down the stretch. You've got a 3-way race then for not only the NFC, well, you've got 2-way race in the NFC East, and then also for the 3-way race for that number one seed, which would make it more interesting. We saw it a little bit with it last year, but kind of felt that the Eagles could have and should have dropped both of these games. But yeah, you know what? Credit to them, they weren't put away by their opponents. They stepped up a particular offensive when they had to. I know Jalen Hurts' numbers weren't great. What was it? 18 for 31, 200 yards, but he threw for 3 touchdowns. The touchdown to Zacchaeus, I can never say his name. Yeah, Zacchaeus was incredible on 3rd and 15, although poorly defended by the Bills. But yeah, a real highlight moment. And I don't think he's going to get moved out of that. I think he's MVP. I think he is your MVP. I just can't see him being ousted out of that now. I don't think he's played. I don't think he's been played great all year. I think he's only played great in flashes, but these come from behind wins that they keep having at the minute. It's about winning football games, isn't it? And he's leading them to win football games.
And the touchdown numbers are pretty gaudy. Joe saying I haven't got the numbers in front of me, but he's got similar rushing numbers to Christian McCaffrey on touchdowns like that. It stands out. It's not just he happens to be quarterback. He's not having a great season, I don't think. But, Patrick Mahomes is not having a great season either. Lamar Jackson's not having a great season like his 2019 MVP. The Ravens might be better for it. But there's no, statistical, oh, shit, we've got a 6,000-yard passer this year. The real MVP, truthfully, is probably Tyreek Hill. But he's never going to win the award because he's a wide receiver, so...
Yeah, I mean, Hurts has got 18 touchdowns through the air, 11 touchdowns on the ground already at this point, which is crazy. It does have a lot more turnovers than he's had at any other point, I think, as well. He's 10 interceptions and four lost fumbles, so it's 14. That's he's had more turnovers so far this year than he has any other full season of his 2 full seasons. So that's interesting. But yeah, I don't think that'll stop him getting MVP. Especially if the Eagles get the number one seed, which I think
that's the big. If they get the number 1 seed, I think it's hard to look past him. I think if the Niners go into Philadelphia and win on Sunday, though, Brock Purdy is an interesting candidate. I think plus 1,600 you can get him right now. I'm not saying I'd want to back it necessarily, but if the Eagles lose on Sunday, I think the only reason Jalen Hurts is getting it is because of the number 1 seed. I don't think he's getting it on play. If that number 1 seed drifts away, I think we can paint just as good a narrative for someone like Brock Purdy winning it. Maybe it's finally a non-quarterback one.
Yeah. I think it'd be Tyreek. If it isn't Hurts, and that would mean Philly may need to lose 2 or 3 games, then I'd say probably Tyreek. Because I can't see him not getting to 2,000 yards.
Yeah, I'm guessing the only issue with Purdy is that McCaffrey will be up there in the odds as well. So it's one of them, when you've got 2 players from the same team battling it out, it normally takes away some votes from one another. But
before we move on from this game, I just thought it was kind of notable. And I mean, he spoke about it himself, getting bailed out by Jake Elliott. Jason Kelce had 2 false start penalties on that Eagles game-saving drive. Yeah. And, you're looking at him in that weather and the rain, and there's part of me is he going to retire today? Because he looked so demoralized. And he's come out and said, Jake Elliott saved him, and, it'd be a huge loss to the game. Even as a Cowboys fan, I don't want Jason Kelce to fall up, I don't want him to retire mid-season. It was just looking at him drenched, pissed off, upset. And I just thought it was a real striking image, I guess. And like I said, Jake Elliott came in and saved him, and they won the game anyway. But when people like Jason Kelsey are making such blunders in such big moments, it's, again, Philly just keep coming away with it. And the other player I wanted to shout out is, I've kind of been impressed by this guy since he got drafted. I think it was last year. Jordan Davis. You know, his official NFL weight is 335, I think, 340. He's not he's 360. Like, there's no way he's 335. He's put on weight since then. The play where he chased Josh Allen out of bounds was tracked at 16.5 miles an hour at 360 plus pounds. The guy's an incredible physical freak. Like, he's never going to be a 3-down lineman, but goodness, when he gets going, I just think he's obviously overshadowed by Jalen Carter's incredibleness on a down-by-down basis, but just another Howie Roseman incredible hit. And again, not on a every down basis, but he's one of my favorite players to just kind of, it's hard not to see him when he's on the field, and he just always seems to be there making impact plays. And yeah, Howie does it again, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, we're coming, you know, the Eagles are coming out of the back of this stretch now, where this was kind of that run where they had Cowboys, Chiefs, Bills, the 1 or 3 games so far, and they, you know, 3 of the 5 games are finished off by Niners, Cowboys.
Yeah,
and you know, so far they've gone 3-0. And whether you think, you know, what we're saying, I think they should have lost a couple of those games. Actually, should have lost all 3 games. Cowboys should have beat them. Chiefs should have beat them. Bills should have beat them, but they didn't. And here we are. And what, you know. Could we just be saying the same again this time next week, going, well, the Niners had him, but didn't kill him off, and
and
Bills,
there's only Dallas Goedert as well, who I'm not saying is the best tight end in the division, but their passing offense is really narrow.
He's a real good tight end.
Yeah, he's certainly a good one. Yeah, and their passing offense, it's so narrow with Devonta Smith, AJ Brown, and Goddard is like that's their 3. Yeah. And to lose one of them and come out 3-0 against. Yeah. Credit to
Bills. Let's just finish off talking about the Bills. So the Bills have back to 500, 6-6. Feels such the momentum that they've got at 7-5 going. They've got the Chiefs. The Chiefs are looking ropey. Play Dallas in Buffalo. And then it just feels it's gone. It feels like they're going to need to win both, do we think? But they're going to need to beat the Chiefs and the Cowboys, or again, if they win one of those games and win out from there, is 4-1 going to be enough? If they get to 10-7, is that going to be enough for them to get in? I'd have thought so in the AFC.
Yeah, I think that will get them in, but not an easy road. They've got the bye week this week, obviously. But yeah, not going to be an easy way to get in. But
yeah, I think it'll be.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it'll be tight just with but I think it's probably helped them, the teams like we've mentioned, the Browns losing their quarterback, and obviously Myles Garrett might be injured. You know, the Steelers are up and down, and you got like, you know, the Colts, Broncos. Are they going to keep winning? You know, there's no confidence. So 10 wins could sneak in, but I also think it's not guaranteed because teams like the Steelers and Browns and, you know, Texans can just win. They're also winning games like weirdly, and they could get sneak to 11 somehow. And we sat here like, how the hell are they on 11 wins this year when they've looked atrocious and the Bills are not in the playoffs with 10 wins? I would like the Bills to make it. I'd like the Bills, Texans, and whoever else. Maybe the Steelers. Give them a shout. To get in the playoffs, because I think they're the most exciting and teams to watch. I think it'll be a bit disappointing if it's the Browns or Gardner Minshew, but hey ho.
Yeah, the Bills doesn't lie. It kind of feels like the Bills are almost like going to have to come out of their bye week in playoff mode, because it's not just the Chiefs and the Cowboys, then it's the Chargers. Not a gimme. I know the Chargers have got a lot of issues, but it's not a gimme. Patriots a gimme. And then they finish in Miami.
Yeah.
Far from a gimme. Well, that is a tough 4 out of 5 game slate for a team who needs to win 4 games.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot to mention them. So the Dolphins in, but you might get the Dolphins have won the division at that point. May have, they could be the number 1 seed. Who knows? And
but all that means is it's a Mike White game, and Tyreek going for 2,000 with Mike White.
Oh,
forget about it.
He might have it done by then. But yeah, I think the Bills will look back if they don't make the playoffs. Week 1, losing in New York against the Jets, losing to the Broncos, 12 men on the field. And, so you get those 2 wins, games you probably should win.
Yep.
Oh, and getting beat by the Patriots, by this Patriots team. They lost to the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
It's
interesting you say there, they lost week 1 to Zach Wilson, because as well as beating the Bills, he's the only quarterback to beat these Philadelphia Eagles.
Philadelphia Eagles, yeah. That's wild.
Weird season.
Odd. 23 in the NFL.
Tom DeVito's got 2 wins and Zach Wilson's beat the Eagles.
Yeah. Odd. Let's go and talk about the rest of our FourFold challenge then, after an in-depth look at those 3 headline games for the week. I thought this was going to be the week, guys. It wasn't. Especially when you were all, Byron, Joe, and our guest, Justin, had all failed their FourFolds by Friday. Thought this was me. I purposely kept the Thanksgiving and Black Friday games out.
Worked well for you?
Yeah, didn't really work for me at all. Bad. We were very bad at this week, guys.
I think the short week, Thanksgiving, it's a holiday.
Yeah.
Season starts now. I mean, we'll keep the records as they are. Like, we'll keep tracking the numbers, of course.
Yeah.
But the season starts now, I think.
Season starts now. Yeah, I'll take that. Let's start then with my favorite. I took the LA Rams -1 against the Arizona Cardinals. This one felt really easy. I was worried about it, and then the Rams absolutely beat the brakes off the Cardinals in Arizona. Real comfortable 37-14. And the return of Kyron Williams, he was absolutely incredible. 16 carries for 143 yards on the ground, 6 receptions for 61 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air. He looked absolutely amazing.
Yeah, he wasn't being eased backing off IR, was he?
Yeah, no.
I thought it was great. Like, it's like, thanks, Darrell Henderson, for your great work while he was on IR. You have been waived midweek. Come back to the practice squad, though. Sure, we like having you around the place, but you will not be touching the ball again. And Kyron Williams just came out and absolutely dominated. Great call, this one, because, I always kind of think favorite of the week on a 1-point game. I always think it's a bit of a bold call. I think Joe won one the week before. It was 1 point as well. And I always think, I always struggle to think of picking a 1-point one. But great call, Paul.
Yeah, I think the Rams are miles better than the Cardinals. I know Kyler's back and it's fun and it's exciting, but the Rams are far better than the Cardinals. And the Rams own the Cardinals. I think that's 9 straight years they've won in Arizona in that division game. So, which is insane. And I don't know if there's any. Maybe the Patriots beating the Jets in New York might be a longer streak. I don't know. Find that out, someone. But it's got to be up there. It's got to be the second longest streak of division games winning like that. Winning on the road. We saw Tyler Higbee, the Rams' first touchdown of the season to a tight end. Happened
after he was there was reported he was inactive and then he passed a late fitness test.
Yes,
you would be furious if you had benched him if you've been carrying him in fantasy, your season's probably not too relevant, I guess. But you'd be furious if, like, I don't know, if you had hhim as a cheap DFS play or fantasy game day play and was like, he's inactive, I'll take him out. You wouldn't be happy seeing that first half.
No, not at all. Matt Stafford looked great in this one. And did all this and put up 37 points with Nakua and Cooper Kupp pretty quiet as well. I think they had 7 catches for less than 50 yards between them, which we haven't seen very often this season.
No, when Kupp's being active, he's been going for the most part. And, I'm lucky enough to get in the Scott Fish Bowl. It's a big fantasy charity tournament. I think about 3,300 people get in. And Cooper Kupp was my second round pick. And, it's a very interesting scoring format, etc., etc. And I got bounced out by about 14 points, I think it was. And Cooper Kupp normally gets like 25 points. He got 6 this week. So, I suffered with that because you think he's active, he's going to go off. He always does. And the Rams get 37 points, and he still just ends up getting a handful of points. Very disappointing as a fantasy manager for him.
Yeah. Not too much from the Cardinals in this one. One, just note, did you see Greg Dortch, who caught the touchdown pass from Kyler Murray, do the too small He's
Perfect.
5'7".
What is he? 5? Yeah.
He's 5'7". But to do that when you are, I think it was 30. It might have been like 31-8 at the time, and then he scores to make it 31-14. Not the time to be doing that, I don't think. Save that for maybe when you're winning.
I disagree. It's Greg Dodge. He's not going to get another chance to do it. I'm all for like act like you've been there before. Don't celebrate when you're losing, unless you're Greg Dortch mossing somebody, and then do what you want.
Yeah, but yeah, a fun one, and yeah, Rams won by 23. Easily covered the -1.
And I was going now in the playoff race as well, which is weird. A couple of weeks ago, wouldn't have said that, and the schedule is not horrendous, but they've got teams in and around them, which will make it interesting. So
yeah. Very much so, and like we've talked about, in fact, there's not many teams in the NFC that are out of it. You can probably, well, I suppose there isn't it. Panthers, Cardinals, Commanders, Bears, Giants.
But Giants only one game back from Rams.
And DeVito's on fire.
Exactly.
You might not like it, but
they've not had the bye after New York.
This week, yeah.
Is it this week? Yeah. So yeah,
I'm Darren Waller back off the bye.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Tommy DeVito isn't going to make the playoffs. Although I do love Tommy DeVito, just to point that out. And Tommy DeVito's family are also incredible, especially his dad. We'll get to the Giants shortly. Byron, Joe, and Justin, I guess we're all on the Eagles -3. Ended up being a push. Views on not having to kick the extra points if you score a touchdown in overtime?
I was fine with it until this time, but it is what it is. Yeah.
I think, never mind. I think they should just give the Bills an extra possession. It would have been more in the spirit of football than, I'd rather have lost a bet and see the Bills come back and win it somehow than, yeah.
That is a push.
I just love that, like, 3 of us went for it. It ended up being a push. That's so ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Saves you off going for the Eagles. I was my underdog. I really, really thought Baker and the Bucks, and I just keep calling them Baker and the Bucks. They sound like a terrible band from the 70s or something, don't they? Baker and the Bucks. We're going to go into Indianapolis, also Indiana, and win. And they didn't. They came up short. It was 20-7. And look, we talked about the playoff race. Colts have a winning record again, 6-5. Shane Steichen doing an incredible job considering their first round pick, 4th overall pick. Andy Richardson, they got to see for all of about 25 minutes. It felt like the amount of times he got injured. And yet here they are still in that race for an AFC wildcard spot.
Yeah, and they also missed Jonathan Taylor for the first 4 weeks, I believe, and he's going to be missing another 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah. But luckily they have he was the second leading rusher in the NFL a couple of weeks ago, Zach Moss. He's probably still top 10. And yeah, a huge amount of credit to Shane Steichen, how he's kept that franchise going. Darius Leonard obviously has been cut, visited with Dallas today, and will be visiting with Philadelphia this week. Kind of hoping he wouldn't get out the building in Dallas without a contract, but here we are.
But he's a bit washed, isn't he?
A little, but yeah, I'd certainly like him in the building.
Yeah, it was awesome. He was on an all-player Hall of Fame trajectory, but so back injuries do ruin that kind of thing.
Yeah, but as a free pickup at this stage of the season, I would certainly take it.
Yeah, I'm curious what the odds are for the Colts head coach to get coach of the year, because if they make the playoffs,
it should be high
for like a first-year coach. Like it feels like first-year head coaches do get like a leg up.
Yeah, and I kind of think rightly so as well, because he's 10-1, by the way, 4th favorite.
We'll get you plus 14 to 1 on Bet365.
Yeah. I wonder what that was like 4 weeks ago, where it would have been.
Probably 50s.
Yeah.
It's a market that seems to move real quick, and hopefully you go the right way. Don't back Sean, Pete Carroll.
It's a market that still has Dan Campbell as the favourite, which I'm finding. I think that loss, I think you can put an end to that.
I think if they still get,
if they win the division,
and get second seed or something like that.
It is the
Lions. They win division that they were massive favourites to win.
Yeah, but who else? Like, you're not going to give it to unless Eagles go like 16-1, Eagles,
the Texans
49ers
aren't winning the division.
Yeah,
The
Cowboys.
Dolphins.
D'Amico Ryans, again, you talk about Steichen gets in the playoffs. If the Texans get in the playoffs, surely it's D'Amico Ryans.
Well, it depends what else. Like, Shane Steichen getting in the playoffs without Anthony Richardson and without Jonathan Taylor for most of the season would be more impressive than the Texans doing it with CJ Stroud and Will Anderson.
And the Lions have just been putrid for years and years and years.
Forever,
So it's the story. And everyone loves Dan Campbell as well. That's another thing.
Yeah, everybody does love Dan Campbell. Right, let's get back on track anyway. Yeah, so Baker in the books. Quite 4-7. The 2 games back now in the division. I know the one game back, aren't they? Because it was the Falcons beat the Saints.
Yeah.
Still feels tough because obviously, it just feels like they're slipping away at the wrong time.
Well, they started 3-1 as well.
Yeah, they started well. Yeah, so it's like what they're 1-6. Yeah. It's not been great, and I just think maybe you get fooled because you see kind of, again, we talk about Josh Allen put this team on his back. Baker Mayfield's done a heck of a job of that this year. And yes, he's got some help with some great pass catches. Mike Evans, particularly, another 2 touchdowns for Mike Evans, who's again having another phenomenal season. But yeah, they seem to be falling apart defensively a lot now in this run. And it doesn't seem to be. They don't seem to be able to get stops easy, and I think it's asking Baker to do too much. But I think he has given himself his opportunity to still be a starting quarterback in the NFL with what he's done this season. Baker Mayfield, I think he's been incredible in that team.
I think it's one of them awkward things where, he could definitely get a job, but are they ever going to make the playoffs or be contenders? So is he just going to be one of them quarterbacks where it's just like, he's free on the market. We haven't got a good draft pick. Let's just see what we can do with. You have to have like an incredible defense. And I think even then, the Mayfield, he's a bit like a roller coaster where he has great games, but then he does backbreaking interceptions and mistakes. So even though he's looked good, I still feel like he sometimes does cost them in some games just by 1 or 2 decisions. And I don't know if you're ever going to get to the promised land with that kind of quarterback.
I said it a few weeks ago, and I stand by it more and more. Baker Fields better the lower the expectations are. Yeah. As soon as things start getting can they contend for a playoff game? It's like Baker goes into more Baker mode, and the wheels come off a little bit. And I'm not saying this was his fault for this defeat, certainly, but it just always seems to be that way. Like I said, they start 3-1. It's like, oh wait, maybe they can push on, and it's like, oh no, they've trailed off completely. And it's not necessarily his fault, but can jump point. He's not elevating either. He's not dragging a team to wins. He's having I think considering how things were looking when he was getting bounced out of Carolina, I think he's had a great year. And Dave Canales, the OC there, should be getting maybe consideration for a head coaching job with what he's doing with Gino last year and what he's doing with Baker this year. But I think there's always going to be a big limitation on Baker.
Yeah. Let's move on then. We move to Tommy DeVito. I love this guy.
Forget about it.
You do that every week, yeah?
Every week he wins, yeah. That's all I can do for him. My great accent.
Yeah, another awful game involving the New York Giants and the New England Patriots. 10-7. How did we not have the under? Why were we not all on the under on this one? What was it, 33 and a half? Was that the under?
Yeah. I don't know why, really. I guess I can't really make a good reason for it when it finished with 17 points. New England is so bad.
So let's just start with that. And okay, so we saw obviously New England came off a bye week. They played in Germany against the Colts. They subbed Matt Jones out on what was the start of what could possibly have been a game-winning drive.
Yep.
Or at the very least, they should have. What did they get? 10? Was that 10-7 there as well? Was it 10-6?
10-6, yeah. So, it could have been a game-winning drive.
Opportunity for game-winning drive. Sub out Mac Jones for Bailey Zappi, and then Mac Jones starts again. After Belichick smoke and mirrors all week around who was going to start.
Release Will Grier as well, after giving him starter snaps in training. Back-to-back weeks have lost to Tommy DeVito, Gardner Minshew, and Sam Howell. I almost feel like Bill Belichick's rolling in his grave that isn't fully dug yet. Like I don't want to go off on a rant again about Bill Belichick, but it's pathetic. Like
maybe he's playing like 4D chess, and he wants that number 1 draft pick.
I think the team's going to get it. I don't know if he will. I don't think Robert Kraft has the. Would you trust Bill Belichick to rebuild your team?
So that story broke a few weeks ago, didn't it, around the fact that they might be considering firing him. Well, they were never going to consider firing him. The fact that he's got this contract, and that is, for me, that's a sign of New England, we're not going to fire him. You can trade for him. If somebody wants him, a la Sean Payton, it's in a very different situation. But, I think the Patriots want to try and get something for him. Which is why
I don't know if you heard the report from, who is it now, Peter King, who said there's been rumors that Kraft's wanting a new young approach to the Patriots, that they wanted to be, and like Jared Mayo's always been mentioned the last year or two. So there's like, because I think even the contract when it came out, it wasn't like a huge contract. I think they just added an extra year on and just moved stuff around. And these owners have got enough money where if they just so like there's some who are paying coaches from 5 years ago. So I'm sure Robert
David
Kraft
Tepper's paying half of Carolina, I think, at this point.
Exactly. So but I do think someone could trade for him. I think that's the only thing. So a team like Washington or like one of them weird teams who are like, oh yeah, we're new owners, or let's get Belichick into let's get Belichick. He's an awesome head coach. He's the best ever. But then, 2 years down the line, it's shit. Because I'm sure a team did that with Lombardi. He went to a team after Green Bay and he flamed out. So I feel like a team would be willing to give up some draft picks for Belichick just because of the name. Because these owners aren't the smartest people, which is proven time and time again. Well, certainly some of them anyway.
It was Washington that time as well with Vince Lombardi. I think it'd be foolish, truthfully, because a winning team isn't going to have an opening, almost certainly, and I cannot imagine saying we want Bill Belichick to rebuild our franchise. How old is Bill Belichick? 72, I think. I cannot make sense of a team wanting to do it. Like, the idea of giving up any kind of draft picks to do so is insane to me. I think he gets fired at the end of the year.
Well, that Raiders.
Call it a mutual decision. Pardon? Did you say the Raiders?
Yeah, I can see them doing something stupid like that.
They are dumb enough. I'll give you that. Yeah, sorry. I'm kind of applying rational ownership here. Yeah, I could see Washington doing it as well for the splash, like you said.
Yeah. Do you think the Bears?
I just can't. Bears make bad decisions on a weekly basis. So, yeah, certainly, again, they could. I just struggle with the idea of a ownership or a GM saying, we're going to have a rebuild, we're going to have a new young quarterback, presumably one of these bum teams are going to have a good draft pick. Like, he's not going to the Panthers, surely. Even he's not doing that. And being like, we need to get in this 72-year-old man who, since Tom Brady left town, has been awful and has done nothing to grow this rookie quarterback. Whatever Mac Jones' personal failings are as a player, he's not being put in a situation to succeed, I wouldn't say. Like, Bill O'Brien's an improvement on the Patricia Joe Judge doubleheader from last year, but
is it? You know what I mean?
On paper, I guess it is, yeah, but on the way it's played out, no, it isn't. No. Just it's hard to imagine it could have been worse than the Matt Patricia, two men who aren't offensive coordinators being trusted to groom a second-year quarterback, and now
And what's nuts is that I remember in his rookie year, I was like, oh shit, the 49ers should have got, because I never wanted Matt Jones, and then that first year I was like, because there was a lot of rumors that Shanahan wanted Matt Jones because how the system quarterback and how he has the traits for that kind of offense. I remember
I wouldn't be stunned if he ends up there.
Yeah, and I was like, fuck, we should have gone for Mac Jones. And then now it's a bit like, it's obviously worked out, but it feels like there's not many quarterbacks who play that. He was probably a top 12, certainly top 15 quarterback in his rookie year. There's not many that will just play like that and then suddenly flame out. And it feels like they broke him a bit in terms of, is he ever going to get back to that level? Is he one of them where there's going to be teams obviously try, because you think there's always a team just like, oh, well, we could we could be the team, or does it? But it feels like he's broken to the point where he's never done that. Because you think about all the quarterbacks what came out that year, probably except Lawrence, none of them had played as how Mac Jones played in his rookie year. He was probably the best out of all of them now, and he's playing just as bad as Zach Wilson and all them. So it's just weird how he's gone from a capable top 12 quarterback to then flaming out and might get one more shot somewhere else.
And you're right, he will get a shot because Sam Darnold went for a second-round pick after his Jets fiasco. And I really, if Mac Jones gets released or traded for nothing this offseason, I think it might be San Francisco. Because we all know how stubborn Kyle Shanahan is. Mm-hmm. And he gets if that's who he did want all along, Trey Lance obviously flamed out. Whatever the sticking point of that was with John Lynch, whatever that might have been. But if they can get, they gave Sam Darnold a chance as a backup, and obviously he's not been needed, so we can't say he didn't work. But I think he'd love to get his hands on Mac Jones and show I could have made him even if he's just a competent backup, drop back hit. I think Mac Jones has got that skill set. I think he just kind of needs a.
I'm curious with his. Yeah, there's been a few stories about his attitude.
Yeah.
In terms of that, will teams who are already set, would they try and bring someone in? But they might just be stories what people are putting out which are untrue, which happens all the time. So I'll be curious. I think. Yeah, they're definitely. I can see something again, the Raiders just getting him as a backup or someone like that. So there's been plenty of teams interested, but I think they've got to release him at the end of the year. Just I think for him as well, not just for the team. I think it's just done. There's no point playing for the rest of the year. Try and get a high draft pick and move on.
Right now they're in the slot for what would be the third overall draft pick. So you are talking there Bears at one from that Panthers pick, who are. There's no way they don't take a quarterback, surely, from what we've learned of Justin Fields again. So surely that's Caleb Williams. 2, do the Cardinals take one at 2, or do they trade out?
They might trade.
To potentially trade out for somebody like the Giants to move up a few spots. Everybody else. Do the Falcons move up, or somebody, or do Tampa move up?
I mean, theoretically, though, if you only have to move back one spot, still get Marvin Harrison Jr. and get an extra third-round pick.
Yeah.
It might be worth considering those bigger offers.
I'm curious what the tiebreaker is, because obviously they've only won 2 each. I know the Cardinals have lost 10 and on by this week. So
and maybe you'd think that actually, obviously, with Kyler, they'd be more than capable of winning another game or two, where you can't really see. Do the Patriots have to play the Jets again, because they will obviously beat the Jets? But apart from that, they will.
They didn't beat the Giants.
So. But so actually, could they be out on Caleb Williams and Drake May, and then are you looking well? Do you take Marvin Harrison Jr.? Do you take the top O-lineman?
They'll probably take a random center who no one's heard of.
Do you reach for Penix or Bo Nix or Jalen Daniels? I don't know. It's a real interesting one. Anyway,
a real stinker, grumpy coaches.
About the Patriots, they're awful. Let's not talk about them.
Well, I was going to say it's a grumpy coach matchup this week. They play the Chargers.
Oh, lovely.
The 2 most miserable coaches in the league right now.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
New York Giants, Tommy DeVito. He's looking like he's functioning NFL quarterback again
with 10 points.
Yeah.
He was 17 for 25, 191, 191 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, but still 10 points.
And I mean, it's still sub 200 yards. For Tommy DeVito, I think great for him. Yeah. Incredible. Yeah. 2 games, 2 wins in a row. He should start the rest of the season, certainly, because what else do they have?
Yeah.
Danny Dimes is out the rest of the season.
Sorry, Baron.
So you might have a competent backup there for another few years. He's putting a lot of good tape out there. He's showing himself to be popular. And, you compare his demeanor to someone like Mac Jones. And, you can easily see why the players are rooting around him, rallying for him, a bit like Mike White last year. I'd rather take that over a Zach Wilson or a Mac Jones. Their ultimate upside might be lower because their, draft capital and their ultimate skill sets are slightly not as there. But personality is such a huge thing. And again, Tommy DeVito isn't going to be Tom Brady or anything like that, but good for him. He's going out and doing everything he can, I think, and the team are rallying around him.
Such a good fellas.
Yeah.
That's the end of that. Yeah. Also, though, do you think Giants ownership are really pissed off that he's coming in and winning games because they're gradually nudging their way down the draft board rather than up it?
Again, I think that's something that kind of like we think about in the concept rather than the reality. I think ownership like to win games. They worry about the draft when it comes to the draft. That's a GM's job. That's a scout's job. I think unless you're kind of like going into the last week needing to lose a game, you just want to win as many games as you can because it's such a short life as a, not necessarily as an owner necessarily, but I think they don't like seeing the teams lose. Probably long term it would be better if they lost more games, I guess, but Brian Daboll needs to win games as well. I'm not saying he would get fired at the end of this year, but...
And technically, they're still in the playoff race. It's only like 2.5 games back. It's not crazy.
Are you saying the New York Giants are in the hunt?
I'm not saying that. I don't think they will, but technically they are in the hunt.
It's not us saying it. That's the playoff standings telling us it.
I hate that graphic that comes up particularly, I think it's during Monday Night Football, in the hunt. And it's like, well, you've got 75% of the conference on the screen.
To be fair, though, we're almost predicting 45% of the NFC teams have losing records in the playoffs. Yeah. Let's not make out it's some special club.
Yeah, they're actually 2 games back because the Vikings are 6-6, so they're like 2 games back. I don't think they'll catch up, but stranger things have happened. So who knows? It could be.
I'd love to see Tommy DeVito in the playoffs. I think that'd be incredible.
Would you? It'd be fucking shit.
It'd be great. Just running around doing that. Brilliant. Yeah. Yeah.
They have got the Eagles twice, so maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not. No, they might actually kill Tommy DeVito.
But they have got the Packers and Rams, 2 other teams who are in it. So here we go. Let's go Giants.
Let's go Giants. Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to see Tommy DeVito in the playoffs. I really like him. He's awesome. Let's move on. We spent 12 minutes talking about that game and just those teams, which is far more than we've spent talking about a lot of other teams. Browns, Broncos. Let's make this one quick. Broncos 29-12. Joe, you had that as your underdog. Browns as your underdog. Yeah, wasn't the case. DTR came out. PJ Walker had to go in. Yeah, look, the Broncos went 14-0 up, and it looked like they were going to run away with it. I know they won by 17, but it wasn't quite that case. The Browns defense, I think, finally showed it was human, I guess. They seemed to struggle against the Broncos.
Dams breaking.
I think with defense, they are one of the best defenses we've seen in the last few years, but most of them kind of defenses can't do it 17 weeks. So it's going to have a few games where they don't perform. I think Garrett mentioned that he had something pop. So obviously that's not good. And I think Ward was injured as well. So, their season might just be crashing and burning right now. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, 7-4, but it's tough. Like, it feels like they've just not got anything going offensively. And yeah, you can't talk about winning with defense, but you need to find a way to score some points, and they're just really struggling to do that.
I think similar to Detroit as well, though, like, just run the ball.
Yeah.
45 pass attempts. I think it was 45, 43. Pass attempts again this week. Your quarterbacks are DTR and PJ Walker. Like, your running attack is your offense. Like, you shouldn't be coming out of a game they weren't blowing out, certainly, until I know it got away from them. Great catch by Adam Troutman as well. I think worth shouting out. They've had 2 of the best catches. That Cortland Sutton one that I still don't know how he really caught it. And then that Adam Troutman one where he just kind of kept his butt cheek alive long enough to not be out of bounds. But, like, they weren't out of the game. Just, like, get behind Jerome Ford, get behind Kareem Hunt, and just pound the ball. I don't understand this airing it out. I'm not saying airing it out with big A dot, but, like, you shouldn't be having 40-plus pass attempts when DTR and PJ Walker when you've got a strong running attack and you're not losing by 30 points. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it's not one. Tough schedule because they've got playing a lot of teams that have obviously the playing team's got a lot to play for. Rams, who are in the NFC wildcard race. Jaguars, who are looking to seal the division and potentially home field advantage. The Bears. Texans still in a playoff run. We've got the Jets as well, and then the Bengals. So I don't know. They probably need to win 3. They're on 7 wins. So is 9 enough, or the AFC going to need to get to 10?
I think you're not going to feel confident at 9 right now, projecting it forward.
So they got to find 3 wins out of that. It's going to be tough. The Broncos are also in that race in the AFC, and they are a team on the up. They are the hottest team in the NFL. I didn't imagine I was going to be saying this when they were 1-5. They've won 5 in a row. What a turnaround! It's very rarely pretty from the Denver Broncos, but they are just finding a way to win games.
Yeah, I mean, efficient on offense, if not spectacular. And the defense is going to play every week, so...
Vance Joseph was under a lot of pressure, and it was that fact, certainly in those early weeks, you thought maybe because Sean Payton had tried to relieve some pressure by firing him, and you know what, that unit's turned it around. They are, some really, big wins in tight games. It's not as if they beat nobody. Either they beat the Chiefs, they beat the Bills. I know the Bills aren't the Bills that we used to see in these last few years, but they're still a good team.
Yep.
Beat the Chiefs, beat the resurgent Vikings, and now beat the Browns, who've got one of the best defense, probably the best, if not one of the best defenses in the NFL, and put 29 on them. Yeah, real impressive stuff from Denver.
Yeah, and like you say, 1-5 could have easily got in the tank. Especially with how last year went. I mean, Sean Payton wasn't there, but a lot of similar personnel. And the most amazing thing, I think, is they're doing it without utilising Marvin Mims. I cannot understand it.
Yeah, somehow, I don't know. Schedule pretty favourable. Huge game next week against the Texans. Potentially for, that could be a tiebreaker for getting in the playoffs. But then they've got the Chargers twice, and the Chargers are not very good. Patriots. Oh, my God, that's Chris. Is that Christmas Day? Is that Sunday night? Is that Sunday night football going into Christmas Day? Christmas Eve night? Oh no!
So Santa's going to be coming down the chimney and sneaking a peek at Russell Wilson.
God, flex that game, please.
I mean, it's the best gift you could ask for Sean Payton. Bailey's happy.
Yeah. Merry Christmas. They've got the Raiders as well. I mean, again, you can find they've got to play the Lions, but they can fight. They can fight. Can they find 4 wins there out of those 6 games?
Sounds like it. You wouldn't be stunned, certainly, if they beat the Chargers twice, beat the Patriots,
and
win one other. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, it's not... You certainly wouldn't be stunned the way that the end of the season, second half of the season started for them.
Yeah, absolutely wild. Credit where credit's due. Do we have to talk about this game? Justin had the Bears 3.5-point underdogs against the Minnesota Vikings. They won outright, 12-10. Interesting one in this one. Just Kevin O'Connell post game, and he was fairly non-committal on whether he was going to continue starting Josh Dobbs, because this was the we said, I had a bit of a joke the other week when they got beat by the Broncos that maybe he crashed back down to earth. This truly was crashing back down to earth from Josh Dobbs. He's been a great story throughout the season, through Arizona and then through the trade to Minnesota. Joe, you said it a few times. Eventually, we're going to see why Josh Dobbs has been bounced around the league and has been a backup all these years. It was not good in a game that Minnesota really should be winning in terms of where their aspirations are for the rest of the season to get into the playoffs.
You go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I think it was just one of them things, like I've mentioned. But again, they could sneak in there. I'm guessing the problem is the other quarterback fix. I know he went off injured.
Jaron Hall. Oh no, Nick Mullins is out of IR.
Okay,
I'll be out of IR. They're on bye this week, and then I think it'll be Mullins.
Yeah, is Mullins really better than Dobbs? I'm not quite sure. So I think you're playing with fire, whoever you go, because again, they're all backups, so they're all going to maybe have 1 or 2 good games and then have a few stinkers. But with the NFC, they could sneak, like you mentioned, 2 more wins, and they've got that 7th seed, and with obviously Jefferson will be coming back
He's been activated off IR, hasn't he now? So he'll play next. He'll play against the Raiders on
So
Sunday.
that might change. How he plays. Again, he's not. You've got in like Dobbs' case, he's not actually been there for that long, so he's still probably trying to learn the offense. So yeah, I feel like the NFC, these kind of teams, I'm not too bothered about because whoever gets the 6th or 7th playoff and are going to get knocked out straight away. So we could discuss who's going to get the 7th seed all day long, and at the end of the day, I don't think it really matters. So
we'll spend longer talking about them than in the playoffs.
Exactly.
Yeah. It just felt like if they got 7 and 5, you're there, right? You're there, and you've got a couple of games. They do play the Lions twice, which they may turn out to be very important games from the Lions in terms of where they are. But yeah, you've got the Raiders, the Bengals, no Burrow, and the Packers on New Year's. In week 17, which could be a de facto playoff eliminator. Interesting. Putrid game. Don't really need to talk about the Bears. Nothing great to say. DJ Moore had a big game.
I think it would be helpful for the Bears, though. Obviously, it's going to be Caleb Williams next year. Hopefully, it's a new play caller. Because if I see Chicago for another screen pass, I don't know if you remember in the preseason, I think it was against the Bills, and DJ Moore's first catch was like a 60-yard screen pass reception that went for a touchdown. And it feels like they just opened the playbook up the exact same last night. I'm like, oh, why don't we just try this again and again and again and again and again and again? And it was like either Cole Kmet for 5 yards or a screen pass. Sometimes both. It was... you can't project things to be that bad, but I'm just glad I didn't bet on the over or pick it for my FourFold this week. Because, if you bet that game for your FourFold, what are you... You've got some serious questions back in Justin Fields for that.
Yeah. This is why I haven't won one of them. So me and Joe are on the over.
Sorry.
Let's talk about your over, Byron. No, we don't need to. Jags Texans, we've already talked about it. Yeah, 21-24.
Unlucky.
Unlucky.
It's an unfortunate
Yeah, so I suppose, if the field goal makes it, then you're...
game of inches.
Yeah. Well, and you'd unless it ended in a 24-24 tie, you got a push.
I'd take a push this week. Genuinely, it's not been a good one.
Justin was on the over was Bucks Colts, which we've already talked about. I was on Chiefs Raiders under 43, which when the Raiders were 14-0 up and the Chiefs couldn't move the ball, I was quite happy with, thinking, we'll be all right here. But what I should have just done, like everybody else, was realise the Chiefs were 14 points down and back them in play to win, because of course they were going to win.
And they finally got going in the second half as well.
Yeah, 31-17.
2 touchdowns.
I know. Score finalists. That was the first time since week 7 they scored a point in the second half. And look, we've talked about the Chiefs' problems with receivers. Is Rashee Rice going to be the guy that breaks out and becomes Mahomes' guy down the stretch and in the playoffs, so that they've got one serviceable wide receiver?
I still think they're probably going to need more. Like Travis Kelce's still going to have to be Travis Kelce and not just a really good tight end. I think it's going to have to be an elite option. But it was really good to see Rashee. I think he finally cracked 70% of the snaps this week and had a really good game. I was pleased to see. I've been harping on about him all season, it feels like, as being the wide receiver that you want in Kansas City. But I think it's a lot to ask him to be the one there. They do need more, I think, out of... I know Justin Watson got another touchdown this week. It was a really good one. I liked his touchdown this week just because he kind of got Spillane, the Raiders linebacker, smashed him to the ground. And he just got up and kind of like found a little zone and Mahomes hit him for it. I thought it was a really clever play and like kind of smart play from Watson. It's tough to see. I think that Chiefs defense is going to have to really stand out if they're not getting anything else from anyone but Rashee Rice and Kelce. Pacheco had a good game this week as well, though.
Yeah, Pacheco did angry run. He ran for two touchdowns. One that he had to run in twice, but they'll count. The Chiefs 8-3. There with the Ravens 8-3, the Dolphins 8-3, and the Jaguars 8-3 in the AFC. So yeah, it should be made for an interesting end to the season for the AFC side of things. When it seems like Philly have got everything sewn up on the NFC side of things. Let's move on. Back to Thanksgiving Day, and the Cowboys absolutely dismantled the Washington Commanders, 45-10. You were on the under buyer and under 48.5. You had no confidence one because you had under 48.5, and then you were also on the Commanders plus 11. What's wrong with you?
Delighted to be wrong. Washington seem to have played the division pretty well this year in terms of keeping the games close. I mean, against the Giants, that's not always a good thing. Dallas historically bad against the spread on Thanksgiving. And I didn't think Dallas were going to go this crazy with points. Again, delighted to be wrong and delighted to see, we're going to cover it at some point today, I guess, Deron Bland getting his historic pick six. And I mean, what a call by Jim Nantz that was. And then, cutting to DQ in the crowd, going crazy. Not in the crowd, in the, in the booth, going crazy. I just thought it was such a well put together bit of live reaction for Deron Bland's play between, like I said, the call, Romo congratulating Nantz on his call, and then like midway through, you got Dan Quinn in the stand. I just thought it was brilliant. But yeah, I mean, one of them where I'm just delighted to be wrong, really, because Dak came out and again, it's kind of been one of them. Another one of my things of a few weeks ago was 3,500 to be MVP. Again, it's probably going to be Jalen Hurts, but he's been playing maybe the best football of his career the last 6 weeks. And yeah, foot stayed on the gas this week, and just really best Cowboys Thanksgiving I can remember.
Yeah, agreed. The Cowboys, and the expectation is that they would beat up on the Commanders. This is what the Cowboys do, especially at home. They beat up on the bad teams. Gone and done it again. I think they wouldn't necessarily have to be the number one seed, but I think if the Cowboys won the division, and to do that, I think Daki's going to have to carry on playing like this. He's going to have to do it to beat the Eagles, and we get some help. Then, yeah, why not Dak for MVP?
Yeah, I mean, he's much shorter now. I think he's 600, 700.
Yeah. Just because he's probably going to have had the most the run for the longest period of quarterback playing at the highest level, if that makes sense. Because he's probably, assuming he does it the rest of the way, he's going to have been over kind of 12 weeks, been really good. 12, 13 weeks, been really, really good. So, yeah, really good game. Yeah, Dallas just absolutely, it's not about. I did think the Commanders were threatening to keep it close. That probably touchdown Dallas got just before halftime, probably just killed it to put them. I think they were 10 up. That put them 20 to 20. 10 rather than 13-10 at halftime. And then they just there was nothing in the third quarter, and they just went off in the fourth quarter, didn't they? Real strong. I think I might have messaged it in our group during the game. I'm real impressed with Sam Howell again. Obviously, the defense was abysmal for the Commanders, for which Jack Del Rio paid the price and was fired as defensive coordinator on Friday. But yeah, I'm so impressed with Sam Howell. I think he does such a good job in the face of so much pressure. It's I think it was it 2, 4, was it 5? No, 4 sacks.
4 sacks this week. Yeah,
2 from Hankins, 1.5 Parsons, and 1.5 from Dante Fowler. But yeah, I just think he does a really good job. I think they've got something there, and if they can build around him, they might be able to achieve something. And surely that's Eric Bieniemy's job. Just give Eric Bieniemy the job. Surely this is a trial for him now. Ron Rivera surely knows he's going. But let's
well, they got rid of Jack Del Rio, didn't they? So
yeah,
blaming other people as usual.
I mean, the defense has been abysmal. So
yeah, but they've got rid of the best 2 players. So
yeah, I mean, which hasn't helped. Yeah. But let's just give him Deron Bland, record breaker, history maker, incredible. And I was so worried that he was going to get brought down.
Brian Robinson, I think it was.
A combination of Brian Robinson and Sam Howell. They had him, and he just kind of breezed past them. But I'm not scared to be. Obviously, what score was it at that point? It was 38-10. As soon as he made that interception and there was the chance, I was jumping up and down. I got off the sofa. It was an incredible moment. Truly, truly great moment, and amazing that he's managed to do that. 5 interception returns for a touchdown in 11 games.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else you say to it. It's just incredible.
It's so good. And we talked about, when it was week 4, week 5, whenever it was, when Trayvon Diggs went down with his season-ending ACL injury in practice, around, the hole that would leave in this Dallas Cowboys secondary. They, of course, still do miss Trayvon Diggs, but Deron Bland, who had a great rookie season last year, has stepped up to another level. And NFL quarterbacks, stop testing him, because he's just going to take it to the house. Stop throwing at him.
I disagree. I think throw at him more.
Keep going. Throw it, if anything.
Get him double digits. Come on.
Yeah. Stop testing him, because just that side of the field is closed for business. Wherever Deron Bland is, that side of the field is closed for business. Incredible. And we've talked a little bit around, and I've shouted out, and I think that moment's gone around. Actually, maybe a defensive guy could sneak in for MVP. I'm not suggesting that with Deron Bland, but Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, does Deron Bland deserve to be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year? Has anybody been more valuable? And it's a different award, but has anybody been more valuable for the team?
I think it's tough to. I think it's kind of tough to differentiate, because I think sacks have almost as much impact. Maybe not as much impact as a pick six, but like it's down in and down out. Whereas like if you just don't throw to Deron Bland, he's having an impact in his own way by taking out a certain area of the field or a certain player. But I think he's a great bet for DPOY. He's still available at 1,200, I think. But I don't know if I would pick him. I don't know how much more impactful he's been if he doesn't get the record than if he gets the record by 1, if that makes sense. Whereas I think if he doesn't get the record, there's no chance he gets DPOY. Whereas I think just because you get the record, you get that such huge narrative bump. And that makes sense, because you set such an incredible record that I think it's a good bet to make. I just don't know if I would pick him personally. I already have bet him when his price was 1,300, and it was probably double that the week prior, annoyingly, if you think ahead. So I wouldn't be stunned if he wins, but I wouldn't vote for him.
It's an interesting one. I mean, he's responsible for scoring 30 points.
Yeah.
On top of, he's got 2 other interceptions as well on top of that, by the way. So, yeah, I don't know.
And it's not all he does either.
No, not all. And, you look at his grades, and, whatever choice you use, PFF or whatever, he's the lockdown corner.
Yeah.
And, especially if Myles Garrett's injured now.
Yep.
TJ Watt, I wouldn't say TJ Watt slowed down, but, Parsons has slowed down.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I like it.
And I think if the Dallas defensive player is going to get it, it's going to be Deron Bland.
Yeah.
I think him being 1,200 and Micah Parsons still being plus, it's less than 200. I think is insane.
That's wild. Yeah, no.
I think it's just I think it's like the position. I think like you said, I think sacks are more sexy for voters, and unless you're, in a few years' time, I think you have to be like, when you're a corner, you have to be like bigger than life to get the defensive play. You've got to be Reavers,
prime time.
That kind of thing where, the pick six are it's incredible. But for some reason, it just doesn't feel. I don't know why. It just doesn't feel as big as elsewhere. So
just before we move off entirely on this game, I wanted to comment. Sam Howell's finally now in a race with David Carr for more sacks in a season, as opposed to just walking away with it. So he's now at 4.58 per game, which would give him 77.9, so 77 or 78 come the end of the season. David Carr had 76 in 16 games. So it's now actually, those numbers have got a little less gaudy from when it was needing. Maybe he's going to crack 100. So he's now on pace for about 78, and the record's 76. So fun one to track the rest of the season and see if Howell can. I hope he doesn't get the record, because it's such an ugly record. But fair play to him, keep slinging it like he does with that, in mind.
Pop quiz question, because just decided to look it up. So if Deron Bland does win Defensive Player of the Year, he will be I want to say he's going to be the 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, no, 6. He'll be the 7th cornerback to win it.
Mm-hmm.
Quiz question: who are the other 6?
I know Stephon Gilmore won it relatively recently.
Stephon Gilmore, the most recent one, 2019, while he was on the Patriots. Joe, your turn.
Revis?
No.
He didn't win it.
Reeves didn't win it. I'll go Dion then.
Yeah, I was going to go Dion next.
Primetime, yes. Primetime Deion Sanders, which won it in 1994, while on your San Francisco 49ers, Joe.
I'm struggling now. Who else would it be? I can't think of anyone else. Is it like anyone modern, or are they all?
I'll give you the years. 2009.
Did Charles Woodson get it? Sorry, I got interrupted there. I don't know what
Charles Woodson 2009. Some safeties won it as well, but yeah, Charles Woodson 2009.
Okay. Did Reed win it for the Ravens?
Reed. Yeah, but he's safety, so that wasn't the question.
Well, you did just mention some safeties, won it? I think that was a fair question at that point.
My question was cornerback. So you had, because you won't get this, so 1993.
Charles Haley?
Sorry?
Oh, Charles Haley was a pass rusher for the Niners. I was thinking there was a Niners one who won it in the 80s.
Yeah,
but...
he's really... yeah.
Yeah, no, so you're not going to get these. 1993, Rod Woodson for the Steelers.
I was going to guess Rod Woodson.
No, you weren't. And then Lester Hayes for the Raiders, 1980, and Mel Blount for the Steelers in 1975. There you go. It was a bad question.
I think I won the question, though, right?
Yeah.
I got distracted by
I can't believe Revis did not get it once. That's ridiculous.
They give him an island, but they won't give him an award.
Yeah, that's probably too much inactivity on Revis Island. They just won't throw that way.
Yeah.
There you go. On to Black Friday. So you and Joe and Justin were on the under for the Dolphins Jets. And were you screwed by the touchdown at the end?
Yeah.
Is that what it did it? 47, yeah?
And also, I think because there was quite a few points, and then Dolphins, I was hoping I think Jets got like ridiculous touchdown near the end. Well, it was ridiculous, but it was like, Miami didn't have to give that away. And then Mostert just like got that big run. I was hoping the Jets would hold him up there, and I was like, okay, could still happen. But yeah, obviously the end of the half, that did not help, because I think was it like 10-6 at that point?
Yeah, so it was a game at that point, because the Jets in the first half did a real good job defensively, I thought, on the Dolphins. Obviously, they got six. They got six themselves. 10. If you're going into halftime, because the Dolphins also got the ball again to start the third quarter. So if you're going in at halftime 10-6, you're in that. They are in that game, and the defense did a real good job. Dolphins, I thought, were pretty sloppy, to be fair, in this one throughout. And Robert Saleh in the decision to have Tim Boyle, who clearly can't throw the ball 55, 60 yards, to throw a Hail Mary in a 4-point game with what? How many seconds were there to go?
I love it, because just to go back to what we talked about earlier, Sean McDermott won't let Josh Allen throw it with 20 fucking seconds left to win the game. What? Like, you can't expect to do all that wrong. But...
And this isn't on Tim Boyle, by the way. Tim Boyle did what he was asked to do to the best of his ability. But to not set up, to have everybody in the end zone and not realise this might go short, and all we've got is the big lads and Tim Boyle to try and stop Javon Holland or Jalen Ramsey or whoever it might have been. Ludicrous.
Yeah. But have you seen like Tim Boyle's like touchdown to interception record throughout his college?
It's a joke that he's even playing in the NFL.
It pays well to be Aaron Rodgers' best mate.
His touchdown to interception ratio was better in this game than it was in his college career, I think. So he had 1 touchdown to 2 interceptions in this game.
Yeah.
Not his fault.
That's what happens when you let a ball back. Yeah. Sorry.
Tim Boyle Sorry, I've just gone crazy. Let Tim Boyle throw the ball 38 times.
Yeah, I'm here calling out Kevin Stefanski for going 40+ with TTR and PJ Walker. I mean, at least they kind of look like NFL quarterbacks.
So I had a bit of a bet builder just to have a bit of fun on the Black Friday game. So it was going to be an abysmal game. And one of the things that I didn't think I needed to worry about were the over-hitting on Tim Boyle completions and the under-hitting on New York Jets rushing attempts. Do you want to hazard a guess to how many times the New York Jets ran the ball?
Well, to pass it 38, you'd think it's going to be like 30, but I'm guessing it was more like 17 by your tone.
10. And two of them were Tim Boyle.
Well, better than him throwing it.
Between Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook had 8 carries between them.
Jets being Jets.
How do you possibly think you were going to win this game? But bearing in mind, obviously, at halftime it was only 17-6, so they'd only ran it probably. I don't know how many it was at halftime, but I think it was only 8 at halftime. So I don't think they actually tried to run the ball once in the second half that wasn't Tim Boyle scrambling.
I don't have anything to say.
Yeah, I think Salah could be gone just because of this, and also because Aaron Rodgers is running that team with everyone who they brought in. When
Nathaniel Hackett's going to be the new head coach.
When you
Tim Boyle's going to be OC.
Alan Lazard will be in number 1, but he's a healthy scratch.
I forgot how much money they paid him until this healthy scratch thing was revealed. So 44 million, I believe, he got right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you've got Alan Lazard was the healthy scratch. Randall Cobb's not been playing. You've got Rodgers' buddy Tim Boyle in playing. I think you're right, Joe. I think you could go. So I just think the mess he's made of this. There's a bit around. A narrative's going around about how much has Aaron Rodgers actually screwed the Jets with his, I might come back and play at the end of the season and playoffs. And that stopped them from maybe going getting, not necessarily somebody big, but, like a Tannehill or I don't know who else. So somebody else that could have come in. And because they already knew what they had in Zach Wilson, they knew he was awful. You've talked about it, Byron, at times about the it's negligent, malpractice almost. From the Jets around, you're getting Rodgers in there, you didn't get somebody else to back up because you knew what you had in Zach Wilson. And a lot of that does sit with Salah, I think. And while he's done a great job with the defense, if you are the New York Jets and you go, we might get 2 years out of Aaron Rodgers. Do I trust?
I don't mind them. Yeah, I don't mind them getting Rodgers. I think they just got pushed over, and I think the GM's in trouble as well. Which, if you said that last year with the picks he made the last 2 years, you wouldn't have said that. But I think it's just made it such a big shit show of the backups, the offensive coordinator, who did a terrible job of the Broncos, but suddenly he's going to be a great OC again. Because I don't think he was calling players at Green Bay. I think that was LaFleur. So I just think they've handled it wrong. And I think the problem they're going to have, even if they get rid of Salah and Joe Douglas, they're still going to keep Rodgers. Yeah, and he's still going to demand. He's going to demand like Tim Boyle to be his backup, Hackett, whoever he gets as head. Because is he really going to want whoever's the new head coach to overrule him? And is he going to stay with the Jets if they get someone who disagrees with him? He could just be like, I'm going to retire then. And I feel like the Jets are in that position where they're going to bend over backwards for him. And if he gets injured again straight away. And there's a lot, offensive line's not great, but they've still got, I know what you said about the defense, but they've got ridiculous quality players on defense. And you give that to Salah because he's brought them players in. But as a head coach, you've got to stamp your authority and say, this is my team. I'm not, because at the end of the day, Hackett should be fired because he's just been atrocious with everywhere he's been. But I don't think they will again.
It's almost like they're going through the year about that Rodgers injury week 1, drive 1. He's almost giving them a free pass.
Yeah.
100%.
And I think it would be ballsy to do it because everybody, I think the narrative will be they'll get a free pass. I think if I was the owner, I'd clean Joe Douglas out and I'd get rid of Robert Saleh as well. And I'd risk upsetting Rodgers as well and get rid of Nathaniel Hackett. I'd just do it and go, we have the pieces. I'm going to get the right leader in to run this. Go get it done. sort of approach. And Roger, but I agree with you, Joe. I don't think they're going to.
On the flip side, though, is anyone worried about Miami's offense not being that amazing the last few weeks? Like Tua's turning it over quite a lot to being like a top, contender in the AFC. The last few weeks I know they played the Jets, but they played the Raiders week before that,
I think
and the Chiefs before that. It doesn't feel like they're hitting the stride as much as they have been, and
I think it was always good.
Sorry,
go on. Sorry, Byron.
I was going to say, it feels like as the defense has improved under Fangio, the offense is kind of like balanced. Like they can't have both at the same time, which, I mean, there's no logic for that. It's just kind of how it feels. I do think it is a concern, though. I don't know if it's a huge concern, but I definitely think it's a concern because you can't expect 70-20 to happen every week, obviously, but they don't look like they're going to beat good teams right now. Or like, I know it's always been the black mark against them. Has been how to do against the best teams, but they don't look like they're going to beat. It doesn't look like they're going to go into Baltimore and beat Baltimore, for example, in the playoffs if it gets there.
I'm not too worried because Joe, you're on mute, by the way.
I was going to say they can't run short yardage as well. They're probably the worst team to get half a yard somehow. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. But
I think what might be the bigger issue, other than the offense, obviously lost Jalen Phillips, another MetLife Achilles tear. And obviously, he's not coming back this year. He's not Aaron Rodgers. And the defense has played really well in the second quarter of the season, but you can't keep losing big players and it not matter. So I think between that, Tyron Armstead in and out of the lineup, the guards in and out of the lineup, I forget his name now, sorry. But I think there is a few kind of overarching issues with the Dolphins that might ultimately limit their upside come January.
I'm not as worried, John, just because this defense is coming together, and I think you're not going to need to score 40-odd points. Like, I don't think you need the track meet sort of style offense like they had before. I think what they can do is lean on this defense a bit more. And then I think maybe you trust Matt McDaniel to run that offense in those games. But yeah, I think probably what we saw in those other games is that the offense, when they played against Eagles, Chiefs, and who's the other one? Or is it just the two? Bills, yeah. Their defense was pretty abysmal, really. But now I think they can keep teams to under 20 points. And I think they can have a bad offensive game and still score 3 touchdowns. So, yeah. I'm starting to get as they've not been great the last few weeks, but I'm starting to get up on the Dolphins a little bit again because of this defense. And I think actually this could carry them through one of those tough games. They've still got some tests left, right? So that theory will have the opportunity to be tested in the regular season. They play Dallas. They play the Bills again in a game that could be huge. They
go to Baltimore. Their last 3 is Cowboys at Ravens, hosting the Bills.
Yeah. So, those 3 games are going to be huge tests. Yeah. So we'll see. And I think it's good for them that they're going to get those tests at the end of the season because it's been a few weeks since we've had that. It's been a couple of weeks since that Chiefs game, and they've got a couple of gimmies, I think. 3 gimmies.
Yeah.
What should be gimmies before then. So I think it'd be really, really good for them. And we'll see, if they could go 2-1 in those games.
Yeah.
I think they need one signature win, and
2-1's fine, even if you say one of them is the Bills, which is lesser of the 2. If they beat the Cowboys or the Ravens to finish the season, I think you can kind of put it to bed a little at least.
Yeah, that's that signature win we've been kind of looking for them.
Yeah.
I just worry that are they going to be able to win like 3 on the bounce?
Yeah.
Probably not, but I don't know. I think I'm giving them more of a chance now than I did a few weeks ago. Even though they've not been playing well. I know that doesn't make sense, but it does here. Let's wrap up our 4-4 challenge because we went on ages for that this week, but we did cover most of the games. So I went 1-3. Byron, you went 2-1. Joe, you went 0-2. Oh, 3-1.
Oh, 3-1. That's the second time this year, I think. I've gone out 3-1.
Oh dear. And then Justin was our winner of the week. He went 2-1-1. So well done, Justin. Wasn't enough to win your fourfold. Let's just cover off the last of the games we haven't talked about. I think we've talked about them. I think there's only 2 games. There's 3 games that we haven't talked about. 4 games. Jesus Christ. Our ATS record. Joe smashed it this week. You went 10-5-1. Well done, Joe. You are now in the lead in our competition. 97 wins, 97, 75, and 8. Byron, you went 7-8-1. Not so good. I'm catching you. You're 3 games behind Joe now, and I'm a further 5 games back. I'm 8-7. I went 8-7-1 this week, so I'm 89, 83, and 8. Couple of 8 clear of me now, Joe. There's still so many weeks to go though. Still got those 6 weeks left.
Yeah, annoyingly, I was 8-2 before the afternoon games as well. Oof. So the afternoons let me down.
Yeah, there's a couple of good ones there though. Colts and the Bears, great picks.
Yeah,
the Jags.
You really want to win Jags as well? Nice, good pick.
Yeah, so just to run through, obviously, we've already talked about Lions. We were all on the Lions. The Packers won that game outright. Me and Joe were on the Cowboys, plus minus 11. Byron was on the Commanders, plus 11. We're all on San Francisco. We've not talked about San Francisco. Yeah, San Francisco, pretty comfortable in the end. Looked like the Seahawks, early second half, were going to make it a very, very difficult evening, but fell away.
Yeah, it's what the 49ers feel like they do most weeks, where they feel like they're in control, and then suddenly the other teams, a touchdown away back. But at least with this game, they managed to win comfortably. To be honest, I think it was a good game. Even it was a bad interception by Purdy, but I think that was the Seahawks didn't really do much else on offense. I think they had some good performances from the defense, which is actually looking really good now. With the cornerbacks and everything. So, yeah, pretty happy with the 49ers. On to the Eagles. With the Seahawks, it's slightly worrying that they've got the Cowboys, 49ers, Eagles. Then they got the Titans, who haven't lost in Nashville this year, the Steelers, and then the Cardinals to end. So, looking comfortable with when they had 6 wins a few weeks ago. Now you're like, oh, if they lose the next 3, which is, they're probably they're not the favourites in any of them. It's not looking good for the Seahawks. And
so, what was the game they dropped before this one? That was the killer.
The Rams.
The Rams. Yeah, I think that was the killer. Yeah. I just don't think I can't. They're going to need to fight
6-5. Yeah.
No, well, I don't know. Look, Byron, maybe we'll get 3 NFC wildcard teams at 8 and 9. Because they were the ones to get to 9 or 10, but can you see them winning 3 games?
I think it could be the Cardinals, and then they would have to be the Titans and Steelers, and I could see them losing both of them, and then they would have to do a surprise against either the Cowboys, 49ers, or Eagles.
And I wouldn't be stunned to see him win one of those games, and I also wouldn't be stunned to see him lose both of those 2 or win both of those 2. I'd never really know what I'm going to get from the Seahawks on a week-to-week basis, or even half-to-half basis. There is these slight murmurations of Drew Lock coming in for Geno. I don't think it'd be good.
I'd be shocked. Drew Lock's Drew Lock. I was
going to say, Geno's not being great, but Drew Lock is Drew Lock. I don't really think it'll happen. But
unless he's injured and he's 60%. For example, and he's playing through the pain, he's like, okay, let's sit down for the next few weeks because we might not win them, but get ready for this. Because they could easily be like I said, Titans, Steelers, Cardinals. If they win them 3 games, they're probably in the playoffs. But
those
puts
games,
pressure on them.
Those games on the road, so they've got Eagles and Steelers at home.
Mm-hmm.
Could they beat Philadelphia in Seattle?
Yeah,
well,
I would pick them to.
Yeah,
but. Again, the Seahawks under Pete Carroll, they're one of the teams I just never really want to write off entirely, or also totally believe in, because it feels where the more confident you are, the more likely you are to be like, oh, fuck, that came out of nowhere.
And I think the problem with the Seahawks right now, they're just not good at anything. It just feels like they're okay at things. The offense has been really slow. They're not doing much there. The defense is getting ran all over, even though they spent a lot of money on that line and obviously traded for Williams.
Yep.
And the cornerbacks, I think they benched
Tariq Woolen.
Yeah, who was obviously had a great year last year. So they're not doing great the secondary as well. So it's a team what's like not good at anything, which is
That
very
was one of my
worrying.
favorite lies of the week. Pete Carroll claiming that Tariq Woolen was benched because of injury to his shoulder while he was playing special teams. I'm not sure, Pete. I don't think that quite tracks. Is our superstar rookie, second year now, cornerback, and we're gonna have him out on special teams when his shoulder's so dinged up he can't play cornerback.
Just a quick note on Pete Carroll. I don't know if you saw the cut of him. As you do, well, actually, not the cut of him chewing gum, because you always see that. The bit where he spits the gum out into his hand and just launches it on the sideline.
Yeah.
Looked like it went far enough to go into the front row.
That's an honour, really. Not an honour I'd want bestowed upon myself, but I'm sure if you're a diehard Seahawks fan, you probably want Pete's gum.
Well, it was a great game, wasn't it? Gum, turkey leg getting chucked in the crowd as well.
Yeah.
There's all sorts getting chucked in there on the first row.
And
fresh in your breath.
Also, did you see what Bosa said when they offered him the Thanksgiving food? He was just like, no carbs, all meat. All protein, all carbs. All protein, no carbs, please. And it's just like, that's the kind of guy who doesn't touch a bag of crisps on a weekend.
Maybe going Marbella in the summer.
Yeah.
No carbs or marbs, if that wasn't obvious to Paul. You looked a bit confused.
No, I've just never heard somebody call it Marbella before. No, Marbella.
I'm from the north of England, mate. I don't do your Spanish L's. You've just gone soft living in Leeds, I'm guessing.
Anyway, verdicts on the lime green colour rush jerseys, the Seahawks.
Not for me.
Yeah.
I think they played about as well as they looked.
I always think like colour rush is never that good. I always find that obviously when they do the retro ones, they're the best ones. But like, there's not many colour rushes. I'm like, oh, that's better than the original.
Fully agree. I think most of the time they look trash.
Just thought I'd get your thoughts on that. We're all in Miami, -10 against the Jets. Tennessee, this is a game we haven't talked about. Tennessee Titans beat, it wasn't very cool. Was it finished 17-10? Yeah, 17-10. Covered a 3.5. There was a few putrid games this week. This was another one of them. Will Levis getting another win. Derrick Henry, one of the few. Probably maybe one of the last big games we'll get out of Derrick Henry. Wasn't huge, but it was a 2-touchdown day. The Titans kind of scored the 17 points in the first half and then didn't need to score again.
Yeah, the demise of the Frank Reich era.
Yeah.
Obviously. I'm surprised you haven't got your little party out on for this one. Jonathan Mingo. Did you see his attempted catch from Jonathan Mingo? It looked like a player trying to catch the ball out of bounds.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he gone past it. Yeah.
I must have watched it 10, 15 times yesterday. And I still, it felt like I was watching a play in reverse somehow.
Yeah, it still doesn't.
I really don't understand what was happening. And when he was an early second round pick, there's nothing good in Charlotte.
I think you could tell from like Frank Reich's face the last few weeks. He was like, he's a man who doesn't want to be there. And I think it feels like one of them firings where both sides are happy with what's happened. It's not like the head coach is like furious he's been fired. It felt like he wanted out there, and David Tepper obviously wasn't happy. But the NFL is not same as standard business, so he needs to. And that's what I mentioned before. Tennessee haven't lost in Nashville. The only home game they lost was in London.
Okay, against the Ravens.
Yeah,
interesting.
But,
did you see David Tepper's press conference? I don't know if it was earlier today or yesterday. I can't remember.
I've seen his quote about a eulogy. Is that what you're referring to?
No, but I'll let you go with that first.
So he doesn't want to keep firing head coaches. He would ideally like to have as his head coach someone who he employs for 20, 30, 40 years until the end of it, 20, 30 years until the end of his life, hopefully 40, and speaks and gives a eulogy at his funeral.
Okay.
No good for Bill Belichick
then. Also in that press conference was him sharing, kind of almost pulled the curtain back on the process of the trade and how they got to choose Bryce Young. which was wild. And he was talking about how kind of, the coaching staff have their view, but I can veto that. But I wouldn't do that. I have complete faith in what they did, on what they would do. And the scouting team, they would have their recommendation and who they would pick, and I would also veto that. But I didn't veto those things, and I didn't suggest at all that we should have drafted CJ Stroud. And it was just like, just stop talking. Just this. He just, for the benefit of the people of Charlotte and Carolina, it'd be beneficial for him to sell that team.
And he did say, he didn't sell that team. He only just took it over 5 years ago. But he did come out as well and say that he doesn't think that firing 3 head coaches, I think it is now mid-season, will impact his ability to get another head coach. It's like, well, it won't impact your ability to get another head coach. But if you're, Ben Johnson or Bobby Slowick or a top candidate, whoever those might be, you ain't taking his phone call. I think they're going to end up getting... I don't know where this comes from in my head. It's very seeing him this weekend ruining Sunday Night Football. Was it Sunday Night Football I think he was on? Mm-hmm. Jason Garrett is the next Carolina Panthers head coach. He'll happily take a 5-year contract and get sacked 2 years through it. And he'll probably be happy because he's a former Cowboys, is a big name. And the guy hasn't got a clue what he's doing. It's not a disgrace. It's humorous.
I feel I'm really worried for Bryce Young.
Me too.
And I don't think any of this is his fault. I've seen him getting some pelters, which feels awful. He's been put in a real bad situation with no help. Actually, no. He has had some help. He's had Adam Thielen.
He's had no help.
They've had no running game.
The line's awful.
I'm guessing the only worry is that there's been no spark.
Yeah.
There's been nothing to be like, that's why it was everyone, I don't think anyone will perform great in that team, but usually the best quarterbacks, there's something you're like, that's why he was, the number 1 pick. And
it's really hard to. Sorry,
looks a bit small as well. Like, I know that was like a big thing coming in, and like small quarterbacks can play in this league and blah blah blah. But the two, I know Murray did it, but he's not, putting the world on fire. So there could be some actual truth to maybe small quarterbacks can't be the top level. Well, you think even like Baker's not that tall, but still, compared to everyone else, it's
Drew Brees, Russell Wilson. I'm not having it.
But aren't they like over 6? Aren't they like taller?
They are taller than him.
Yeah,
but still small.
They are still small. I disagree with the premise. I think generally, but until one hits, it's easy to say, and you can't really be wrong until you're wrong, I guess. If a better one comes along who plays better than Bryce Young, it'll go to bed. But until one does, a bit like we talk about the Dolphins playing good teams, until they beat one, they can't beat one. But I think I don't really worry about his height. He was great in college at this height. My bigger issue is, name a good NFL quarterback who's had as rough a start as Bryce Young's had, who's overcome it. We can make all the excuses of like, well, there's no line, there's no wide receivers, running back, and that's all true, absolutely. But how many have had such a rough start and went on to be, top 15, actually good quarterbacks, not just passable?
Yeah.
If I'm not thinking of one.
I think a few weeks ago there was like a comparison to a few good quarterbacks who had similar stats to him. Things like Joe Burrow, Lawrence.
I think rookie year.
There was another one. Yeah. So, but it just feels like they may have showed a little bit more. And as the season goes on, it's going to be one of them where,
there's that element of an eye test to all of those as well, where like Lawrence's was rough, and the coaching was really rough. With Lawrence, even in real time, that was stood out. But I think even Lawrence showed a little more than Bryce Young has. And I mean, Burrow certainly did in his rookie year. Whatever his stats were, Burrow looked like he belonged immediately.
Yeah.
I'm really worried for Bryce Young because again, that first round draft pick isn't benefiting them next year.
No, and
they're gonna have to pay through the ceiling to get T. Higgins or insert Mike Evans, an elite wide receiver who can come in and get open and make catches for him, because Adam Thielen's been peppered with volume. Adam Thielen's not a difference maker. He's had a great season, and he was my pick for the I didn't think you had this in you or whatever the award was at mid-season. But they just need something. They need so much around him. And
you have to pay a fortune as well, because them kind of players are not going to just want to go there for I'll take a discount to play for Carolina. They're going to need top bucks.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. So Frank Reich gone, so that was his second crack at being an NFL head coach. I will do everything in my power to stop there being a third Reich.
Oh my God.
Head coaching.
Is that your second German reference? We've been like,
it's his second time he's made that joke on the history of this show.
It's slightly different. Slightly different.
He's made two Reich jokes.
Repackaged joke.
No more third Reich jokes from Paul.
I promise there will be no more third Reich jokes. Well, as long as Frank Reich isn't hired as an NFL head coach again. So that's on the NFL owners.
Luckily, I mean, he might end up, I think, remember Vic Fangio went to the Eagles last year as a consultant.
Mm.
What if the Jags need an offensive consultant? Doug Peterson's boy comes in. Thankfully, the Jags next year, if that continues, play in London, not Munich. Because we don't need any bait for Paul.
So the Panthers not only got rid of Frank Reich, they also seem to get rid of anybody else that had any sort of NFL coaching experience.
Or ever said hello to CJ Stroud, I think.
Yeah,
because Josh McCown got fired, who's got no experience. Yeah. Drew Staley got fired as well. It was a real clear out.
And Jim Caldwell was brought in as a special advisor, I think.
I like Jim Caldwell.
Yeah. Could he be an option? Or is he too far gone?
I'm curious how they're going to play, because it feels like they could turn to the Texans and they'll hire Jim Caldwell, but he'll be gone after a year. And it's until they find someone and they've got a bit of stability at that. I could see them hiring Jim Caldwell, but then again, another year down the line, the Panthers have fired someone else after one and done. Who are they going to go for next?
It's been 6 years since Jim Caldwell has been a coach in the NFL, a head coach in the NFL. So surely.
Well, Jeff Sadin was never a head coach, but he managed to get 10 weeks.
Greg Olson said he would be interested in the vacancy.
I did see that.
Okay, Greg. I'm not sure why you think you're qualified. But again, Jeff Saturday, why not?
Well, he's about to lose his job on Fox as the lead Fox booth.
Tom Brady.
It's Tom Brady, so he's after another job.
So I'm thinking he's after a year at Carolina, then he'll get fired. Then when Brady flames out, he can go back to that job.
Yeah, maybe. It'd be a shame because I quite like Greg Olson. I think he's great in the booth. Right, that's the end of that. Nothing much to say about the Titans, are they? They're just kind of getting to the end of the season. Hopefully get some positivity out of Will Levis, who looked okay. Didn't really have to do too much to win this game. And yeah, just kind of get to the end of the season, really. Not too much to shout about for the Titans. I think Saints, so that was, we're on Titans. Me and Byron took the bait of the Texans getting 1.5 points. Joe, you got the Jags on that one. We were all on the New York Giants and Tommy DeVito. +3 at home against the Patriots. We were all on the New Orleans Saints.
This one annoyed me as well, because I had the Falcons to start with, but then I went with it and I switched it just because the Saints had a +1.
So annoyingly, it flipped. So when it got to the game, the Falcons were +2. So I was going to take whoever was the underdog in this game, whoever was getting the points. And obviously, if we'd cut it at a different time, I'd have took the Falcons, because I hate the Falcons as a favorite. I also hate the Saints as a favorite. So yeah, I'd have just taken the points and the underdog. Comfortable in the end, 24-15, won by 9. 5-6 leading the division. Dumpster fire that is the NFC South. It felt like the one, if the Saints could win this one, they might start pulling away, and by pulling away, maybe win 2 more games. But yeah, and all of a sudden, I think it's between these two right now. I think the Bucs are out of it, even though they're a game behind. Obviously, they're 1-6 in the last 7.
Yeah, it feels like it probably is. And I think losing Chris Olave to concussion during this game might well have been what turned the Falcons' way, because he was having a great game. He was racking up yards and targets. And, there's no Michael Thomas. You lose Olave on top of that. It just Derek Carr's not driving a misfit bunch of wide receivers to a win. I don't think so.
So if Derek Carr's going to do that and throw that pick, throw that interception at least to pick 6, just play Jameis Winston, I think.
Yeah. If you don't have the ball security from Derek Carr, why do you have Derek Carr? And I think you can go to my Twitter feed at Byronchenko. I posted a tweet yesterday from Warren Sharp, like retweeted it, reposted it, whatever the term is nowadays, of Derek Carr inside the 10-yard line being the worst quarterback in the league. And it's just like all his interceptions and bad throws. And it's like 30 tweets on a thread. And the one that I retweeted was, I can't remember a worst interception in my life. I figured it was Aiden O'Connell in a preseason game or something. I don't remember the throw. And he kind of just like airs it from 10 yards right to a defender. This is when he was with the Raiders, obviously. But the amount they've paid to downgrade from Andy Dalton or to barely upgrade from Andy Dalton is... It's going to be a rough next year for the Saints as well. Whatever they do the rest of this year. Another fun little activity, if you go to SpotRack, who track all the contracts for NFL teams, and you can kind of play a game on there of put the team in, manage their salary cap for next year. You try and get the Saints under the salary cap with a roster.
Can't be done. Cannot be done. What are these $70-odd million over the cap?
Yeah, I can't remember the exact number now, but it's obscene. And it's always like, well, the salary cap's not really, just move the money around. The money comes due eventually.
Or they've been in this situation for 5-6 years in a row.
I was about to say, are they still paying Drew Brees' contract? Because they always pushed his like on and on and on and on and on. But I wonder if like this is a weird thing where whoever doesn't win the division overall wins, because hopefully they clear house with their coach and everything. Because I think both teams just need a do-over in terms of where they're going. I think they
fully agree.
I think whoever's going to win this division, they'll keep the jobs and everything, and they'll be in the same position next year. But yeah, I've never liked Dennis Allen. I don't know why the Saints kept him. So I don't think the fans like him. Don't think they like the offensive coordinator. Don't think they like the quarterback. Just don't think they like the team. So it feels like. And the only good thing about the game, you see Ludacris at halftime.
Yeah.
Maybe that was
Very
the best halftime show this week.
Yeah, rank them.
Top 2.
Yeah, rank them. So you've got, what was that guy in Detroit called? Jack Harlow. Jack Harlow, Dolly Parton, Ludacris. Rank them.
On Steve Aoki, where they played like 2 minutes of his set.
We'll leave that one.
I'm going to say Ludacris top because Dolly was definitely... she wasn't singing live. I can tell you that now. She's definitely miming.
Yeah, I kind of agree. She probably was miming.
At one place, she was like smiling, and the song was like hitting a big note.
At her age, it's just a skill you learn.
Yeah,
it's probably coming out through her nostrils. Not a sentence I thought I'd say about Dolly Parton. And yeah, I just checked on SpotRack. The Saints are projected to be 87 million over the cap next year.
Oh, that's wild. Yeah.
With what?
Yeah, and with what players they've got. Yeah, it's mad. Yeah, the Saints are in a real tough spot. And the noise around Dennis Allen got loud early this week. It's been loud anyway. And the noise around Derek Carr is understandably huge. They're in an awful spot because they're going to get a middling draft pick. I wonder if they'll be in a position to take a quarterback first. Take a quarterback in the first round. They got a first round from the Broncos, didn't they? Or have they used that?
That's gone.
Okay. In the first round, if they have the opportunity to get LSU, Jalen Daniels, which would be huge. I'd imagine the noise in Louisiana of getting Daniels from LSU would be quite loud. So, I could see that being a possibility. Middle of the first round. But yeah, just bad. B. John had a good game. He went 2 touchdowns, 1 through the air, 1 on the ground. And Drake London got some production out of him as well. So, I think I messaged you this stat. So with Deron Bland, getting that interception return for a touchdown, he now has more career touchdowns this season. So has more touchdowns this season than Kyle Pitts has in his entire career.
I was just quickly checking as well. Sorry, it's not related to Deron Bland's incredible stat there. The Saints don't even have their 2nd, 3rd, or 4th round pick next year.
So they have a 1st, then a 5th.
They have Denver's second next year, but they don't have their own second. They don't have their own third. They don't have their own fourth. They have their first. Denver's second, which is going to be better than the Saints, I think. Or maybe not, because they're probably going to win the division. And then 5, 6, and the Eagles 6, and the Broncos 7. How is this team this shit? With no money.
And no draft picks.
Barely any draft picks. I don't really know what else to say, but like it's getting to that stage of the season where you start looking at next year, and like I think we need a study done on the Saints his last 5 years of management, because it's how do you end up here?
Yeah. It's a joke to be made there, but I didn't make it. Afterwards. Steelers Bengals. We're all on the Steelers. They won. So not only did they win, they had 400 yards of offense for the first time in 59 games.
Yeah.
Fired Matt Canada, and look what happens. That still totaled only 16 points.
It's the first game they've outgained their opponent, right?
It is, finally, yes.
You'd be pissed off as Matt Canada. Like, to be the first week, if it was a couple of weeks later, it could have, like, it would be brushed under the carpet. But to be the first week without you, and like you said, still only score 16 points, it's, it is what it is.
Yeah, I've never seen a team get 400 yards of offense, yet still look so bad.
Yeah, not since the 1940s have I known 400 yards be like a celebratory mark.
But yeah, it was. Najee Harris had they fed him on the ground, 99 yards a touchdown. Pat Frymouth, who's recently come back off IR, had a big game, 9 receptions for 120 yards. Got Pickens the ball a little bit, but yeah, still isn't great. But they did enough to win the game. And look, we are, Joanna, you want good teams to be and nice, good teams to watch to be in the playoffs. Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be in the playoffs, and they're going to be atrocious to watch.
Steelers Giants Super Bowl. Is that what you're hoping for, Paul?
Oh my God! Can you imagine Kenny Pickett versus Tommy DeVito?
2 homeboys.
Wild. No. Yeah.
Just want to shout out. You mentioned there, Pat Frymouth came back and had a big game. Pat Frymouth had the most receiving yards on the week.
Did he? Nobody got more than 120 receiving yards.
Correct.
Oh, excellent. He was on the bench of my fantasy football team. Luckily, I didn't need him.
Yeah, DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, Chris Olave all got 114. And yeah, Pat Frymouth, who, I mean, I always pick a rusher, receiver, and a thrower for lead Sunday. I have no idea what odds Pat Frymouth was. I mean, 250 to 1 probably, like picky price. I didn't consider him.
Yeah. Wild. The Bengals, so we saw the first start for Jay Browning?
Yes.
Yes, it was, wasn't it? Yeah. Who actually did okay with no rushing game to speak of. Again, we're gonna get to our winners and losers soon. I've got a huge collection of losers because of all the one thing they have in common. They rushed the ball 11 times, the Bengals. I know the Steelers have got a good front.
Joe Mixon had 16 rushing yards on 8 attempts.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Boyle-esque.
Jake Browning ran 3 of those as well for 9 yards. So
yeah,
scrambles, not rush, not design runs. Yeah, Bengals in a bad place, 5 and 6, but they may not win another game. Bucks, Colts, we've already talked about. Me and Byron took the Bucks. Joe, you're on the Colts. All on the Browns. Denver won easy. I was on the Rams. I was also on the Bills, but you two were on the Eagles. It was a push. Raiders. Me and Joe took the Raiders +9. Chiefs won by 14. Baltimore Ravens. That is the last game we haven't talked about. Ravens beat the Chargers 20-10 in what was a pretty poor Sunday night game. But Ravens are 9-3. Sorry, yeah, they're the game ahead, aren't they? 9-3. The Ravens in the AFC. You said 8-3 before, meant 9-3. Yeah, I mean, just got the job done, really, didn't they? Chargers are really, really bad.
They've done. They might as well fire Brandon Staley. Like, he's gone at the end of the year. He's sulking. Quentin Johnson left the game, then didn't come back in the game. Brandon Staley, I think, misspoke and said that he was medically cleared to come back in the game. And then today he was snapping at a reporter because he was medically cleared, but he wasn't okay to come back in the game. And then he was very patronizing to the reporters. It's really become like kind of his MO at this point of not communicating very well and then snapping at reporters for not understanding how he's miscommunicating. I'm done with the Brandon Staley experience fully. Like, he's coming across more and more like basically a jerk. The worse things get for them. And the team's obviously given up on him. Justin Herbert, I think, not the greatest game of his career, but he's still making some throws. I just think you need the cleanest of sweeps in that building. Take Tom Telesco out as well. New GM, new head coach. Take Kellen Moore with you. Just get rid of
I think that this will be probably the most sought after job as well. So I think out of all the teams you're like, oh, they just need to like clean out, start again. This is the one where they've got, the ultimate prize. They've got a quarterback. They've got a top 10 quarterback who could be a top 5 quarterback. So like you said, I think they should just clear shop and, they should have the pick of the bunch. Who do they actually want?
Yep.
Get an offensive coordinator. We've talked about this. You only get defensive coordinators are only good if they're actually good man managers.
Yep.
I'm not a big fan of just getting a defensive coordinator just because they're a good defensive coordinator. I don't think you can get good defensive coordinators if you've got an offensive coordinator.
I also don't think he's a defensive coordinator.
Sorry?
I don't think he's a good defensive coordinator.
I think he was. No, I just think the job's too big for him.
Yeah, but he was at Rams. But I think that's what I mean. If you're going to get a defensive kind of head coach, he needs to be a better head coach than he's a coordinator. And I don't think he is. I feel like if you're an offensive-minded head coach, you have a bit more leeway because the offense is normally the be-all and end-all, and you can find good defensive coordinators out there. I think it's a lot harder to get a great offensive coordinator. So they should, have a look around the league. Who's, Houston's offensive coordinator, give him a shot. There's quite a few of the Detroit one. There's quite a lot out there where you can be like, let's give offensive coordinator with Justin Herbert, and see where you go, because I just hope they just don't go milk toast like they've done quite a few times. And this one was like better than they've had before when they first did it, because Brandon Staley was like an exciting young coordinator for the Rams. But I just hope they don't go back to like getting someone really boring. And you're just like, why the hell have they gone for this guy again?
There's a bit around. So I think now Justin Herbert's career record is 2 games below 500. I know quarterback wins isn't a particularly great stat to judge somebody by. But there's a point here where you look at the talent he's got around him, Eckler, Keenan Allen. This should be games.
It's not too long, is it?
This isn't massively long, but Mike Williams, though, he's been injured a lot. But where he should be capable of going and winning, putting this team on his back. We talked about Josh Allen earlier. Other quarterbacks do it, putting the team on the back and going winning, and he doesn't seem capable of doing that.
I think that's nonsense.
That might be a hot take.
Yeah, I think it's the offensive coordinator, because, like you said, Josh Allen, but when he was the best, he had Brian Daboll, who's been proven that he's a great offensive coordinator. Who has Herbert had coaching and drawing up plays? Not people who have got a job now, or probably won't be doing in the future. So,
and look at their biggest, I think, standout memory of the Brandon Staley era. Justin Herbert's offense goes out and puts 27-0 up on the Jaguars in the playoffs. And then they just stop calling run plays, and the defense pisses it away. I think the nonsense of Justin Herbert's win-loss record is one that I think we'll look back on it in a few years and go, I can't believe people said that, truthfully. Like, his skilled weapons aren't as good as people want to make out. Mike Williams is always hurt. Quentin Johnson's a bust. Austin Eckler looks like he's running with a piano on his back right now. He had a great year last year. But Austin Eckler was timed running down the sideline at 13 miles an hour last week. Remember, we talked about Jordan Davis earlier going 16.5 miles an hour at 360 pounds.
Yeah, Austin Eckler.
Jordan Davis shouldn't be outrunning Austin Eckler.
No.
If we're going to highlight Austin Eckler as a useful weapon to a quarterback.
I do agree that he's not a top 5 quarterback there. He's got the ability to be. Yeah, he's got the ability to do that. But when you actually I think he's always one. Oh yeah, he's definitely a top 5 quarterback. But then you think of other ones. You're like, you know what? He's probably like the low, probably 8 or 9.
Yeah, it's in that 10 range. I don't know if many people are saying he's a top 5 guaranteed quarterback.
I feel like at the start of the year, people were like bigging him up. I think the only problem people have with Herbert is that, and I've heard this on other podcasts as well, it's just that emotion, like it feels very milk toast compared to a few other quarterbacks who, I don't know, who manage to like stage huge comebacks and it's like it's all over their face. He just doesn't have that personality. You don't really hear from him.
He had a bit this week.
Yeah, exactly. Finally,
which was kind of fun to see when he's fucked. I think it was the center he was fucked off with. I'm not 100% sure who it was. But yeah, he threw the ball on the ground. And you're like, oh bloody hell, we've actually got a bit of a spark here.
Exactly, but it's like Joe Burrow. He's like, he's fired up from like the get go, and he's like going nuts. So you just like, I think he has that persona about him as well, which detracts from him.
Yeah, I mean they've lost these 3 games in a row to Lions, Packers, Chargers, Ravens, sorry, and yeah, they're done out. They're 4-7. They're not going to win 6 in a row to get into the playoffs.
I love the idea. Of they lost these games to the Chargers because they basically have every week. The one team who beats the Chargers is the Chargers. It feels like.
Yeah. So that was us for the week. That's all the games. Just a quick run of the bets. We don't need to talk too much about the Ravens. We'll talk about them more because I've got some big games coming up. Quick summary of the bets. I went 8-5. It would have been a much better week. I could have gone 9-4 would have been nice if the Bears Vikings over hit. My anytime touchdown parlay came nowhere near. I had Henry, ETN, Kelsey, and Barkley. But yeah, I've had a good run the last few weeks. Some winning week, really good winning weeks. 8-5, not fantastic, but it's a winning week in the NFL. You take it. I'd take 60% every week.
And that's going from Misty 67%.
It's Mr. 53%, I think, at the minute.
That's still over 50, you take it.
Needs to be 54. 54 plus, really. Anything hit for you guys?
I had a real good one. Kyron Williams most rushing yards on Sunday.
Yeah, 13-1.
Yeah, and he absolutely smashed it. Minshew didn't get close. Again, I just kind of figure you beat the Bucs by going through the air against him. I stand by that. They did win that way. Just not enough volume, maybe not enough comeback from the Bucs to bump that up as much as I would have liked it. Hit Josh Downs over 4.5 receptions. He got 5 on 13 targets. Yeah. Which again kind of killed us a little in Fantasy Gameday. He was one of our selections. I mean, if he gets another 5 of those, you get such a much bigger return because obviously you're getting half PPR point and all the yards and potential touchdowns on top of that. I couldn't believe when I seen he had 13 targets. Still got the better over 4.5, and Kamara over 4.5 came as well. I went YOLO on the end time touchdown this week. I think everyone was at least plus 300 or longer, and I think we hit 1. So I probably won't do it again. I just thought it might be a bit fun way to mix it up on a shorter slate on Sunday with all the primetime games or island games. But yeah, I was really pleased with Kyron Williams one. I love hitting at least one of them a week because they're very tough to kind of predict that market. And I think we've hit 3 or 4 this season. So better than I kind of anticipated, I must be honest.
Well done. Joe, your Eagles push killed your treble, didn't it?
Yeah, I've not done too well the last few weeks, so let's just say move on.
Let's move on. We'll just move on. We'll finish up with Fantasy Game Day. We'll save, because we're recording on Wednesday, we'll save the Cowboys Seahawks preview for then. For Thursday Night Football. Fantasy Game Day, just a reminder, go and download and get involved with the Fantasy Game Day app. Daily fantasy game available in the UK by British fans for British fans. Use promo code COVER to register if you're playing for the first time. Again, cover all in capital letters. You'll get a free play after your first entry. It's in essence 2 for 1. Buy one, get one free. Whatever you want to call it. Get involved. Winners went away with, again, over £100 each. I think it's like £180 each this week. And this was our winner, or the winner, of 198.86 points. They had the returning Kyron Williams as captain, which was their key, I suppose, their key differential. But they also hit on Stroud, Handcuff Widell, B. John, and Jonathan Taylor, who had a two rushing touchdown game. Divided some of the bigger stars, this one, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, there's so many of the big teams playing, Cowboys, Dolphins, 49ers, all playing Thursday, Friday, not eligible for the slate. But Kyron Williams, geez Louise, I don't think we considered him as captain. We had him in our lineup, though, right?
Yeah, we had him in our lineup. We had Stephon Diggs in our lineup. We were just short of a prize. I think we finished 42nd. You need to be top 30. But yeah, so I suppose this week you still had the Bills, you still had the Eagles, you still had the Chiefs, and none of those players. There was Kincaid from the Bills, but none of the big players from those teams. So yeah, again, so many different ways to win in Fantasy Game Day, I think, which is showing every week with these winning lineups. So yeah, get involved. You chance your arm. It's £7.50 entry, and you get the opportunity to walk away with some cash money prize. That was terrible. What does that mean? What does cash money prize mean?
I think it's a cash money prize. I think that's fine.
Cool. And yeah, top 20% of entries get a prize. So get involved now. Use promo code cover, and you'll get yourself a free game after your first entry. That's it from us because we've gone on forever. I've lied. Winners and losers quickly.
No winners and losers. Yeah.
Joe, winner.
Paul Redmond since Frank Reich got fired.
Thanks, Joe. Byron.
Dak Prescott, form of his life, crushed on Thanksgiving, father to be.
Oh, that was going to be mine. I'm going to go for the Jags, my winners for the week, just because big win. I think that they've got control of that division now. Loser. I'll go first. We'll go reverse order. All the teams that should be running the football that aren't running the football. The Browns, the Lions, the Jets. Who was the other one? The Bengals. All in situations where you shouldn't abandon the run because either you're down early in the game or you're playing backup quarterbacks that are really going to have a difficult time. Help them out a little bit and run the goddamn ball. Run the ball. All of those teams combined as one are my losers of the week. And they all lost. Sorry. Byron.
Matt Canada.
That's a good one. Joe.
Let's go Detroit and their halftime show because it was a trap.
Yeah, that was pretty bad, wasn't it?
Surprised no one said Dolly is a winner, but here we go.
Yeah, she was on the cover of our Week 12 review episode, so that's winning enough for Dolly.
Roma was the real winner.
Although she does...
His dry cleaner maybe isn't.
Oh.
That's the loser of the week.
Only Rose dry cleaner. Although she's number one in the album charts. Billboard 100.
And second to winner of the week behind Paul Redmond, it sounds like. So
yeah.
Number one in our hearts. Here we go.
Excellent. Reminder, go give us a follow at Good Teams and Great Teams cover over on Spotify, where you'll be notified of these very, very long episodes that you can go listen to. You can also follow us at...
Didn't give Charlie a shout out for winner of the week as well, 2 and 1. I was
just about to do it.
Oh, my apologies.
You can give us a follow, Good Teams at GTW_GTC over on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, where you'll be able to give follow along with Charlie's picks, Byron's dog Charlie. Had a great Thanksgiving. You went 2 and 1,
including the Packers.
Including the Packers, yeah. Packers, a real good shout. Took the Cowboys and he took the Seahawks, didn't he? Is he back? I lost where he was. He was 3. He is 1 and 3. He's 3 and 4. So it's one below 500.
Catching you up, Paul. With the podcast.
Catching me up, yeah. My Thursday night picks have been terrible. My Thursday night bets have been terrible, by the way.
Well, we'll see if it goes Cowboys and Seahawks this week. It went both for them last week, so.
Oh, yeah.
Can't go both again this week.
Follow along on TikTok for Charlie's picks because they are.
And he maybe did get screwed a little on that Seahawks pick as well because the first 2 I used dog treats, and the third one I think he just got out of his mind because that's when he got turkey. Okay. So I don't know if he even considered what was available. I think he just went, "Whoa, there's turkey! I don't care." So we're back to dog treats this week.
Cool. All right.
Sorry, Charlie.
I can't wait to see it. You better pick the goddamn Cowboys. Right, we'll be back on the Wednesday or Thursday, whenever it gets released, later in this week with our Week 13 preview. Thanks for watching as always, and we'll catch you next time.